Cut the music. Hey, this is me. Hello, Linda over here for the Southern Fried Paranormal here on warm. At least it's not hot like it was last week. It's about 10-degree difference, I guess. At least it's tolerable today. We didn't quite reach 90. We had a little rain. So, just made it humid as all get out. Tell you what, you try to sit there, and I was talking to a local guy the other day, and probably on top of this hill, maybe 175 feet over sea level. But you get 175 feet over sea level with some rain on the ground, surrounded by a lake and a bayou and a creek. And see how humid it is and just how hot 85 degrees can feel when the air is full of moisture. But anyway, we're going to get going tonight. I've had a little problem. I lost my internet card from my desktop, so I'm going to be doing everything I do right here on this laptop that you normally reserve strictly for doing the show. So I won't have that fixed till next Tuesday. So today's has not been my favorite day, but we are going to bring out in just a minute somebody I met recently. She seems to be a lot of fun, and we'll find out. We'll let her talk about herself, what she's into, what she's done with the paranormal. And of course, we are talking about Jessyca Hardison Adams. Anybody with three names is bound to be impressive. Because I don't tell anybody my middle name. I have heard on Ghostbox before, but I don't tell anybody. Anyway, Jessyca Hardison Adams in a few minutes. But let's get this party started. Bones, let's let her roll.
Warning, the following video contains strong language which may be offensive to some viewers and or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Southern Fried Paranormal with Len Dorman featuring Bones. Catch us on Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, Spreaker, Facebook, Stream, and everywhere else you catch your podcasts. And of course, WLFE-DB.com. Now, from the backwoods of southeast Arkansas, right beside the Bayou Bartholomew, the longest bayou on the planet, broadcasting from downtown metropolitan Cane Creek Township, here is your host, Len Dorman.
All right, welcome to the show. Like I said, we're going to bring in right now Jessyca Hardison Adams. And there she is. I'll scoot over here. Hello and good evening.
Hi.
How are you tonight?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm cooler than I have been. You were telling me earlier it's kind of cooler over there.
Yeah, it's been really, really hot and humid. And then we got a lot of rain over the past couple of weeks in North Carolina. And now it's just kind of mild tonight. So that's a big, nice change from the heat that we've had before.
We had 100-degree heat here for a while. And we were in a drought for a bit. And we just had just enough rain to kind of call it into the drought. We're supposed to have gotten an inch or so over the last couple of days, and we barely got a smattering. We had one nice shower, and that was it. Just enough to make it really humid. Just had some light mist today, just aggravating stuff. Just enough to make everything wet. But it cooled the house off anyway, so we're better than we were at 100, 203 degrees like we were for a while.
Well, I'm glad you're okay now. I couldn't stand the 100-degree temps. That would kill me.
Well, we have clean and air conditioning. We have 4 17,500 B2 units connected to the house, which is quite a bit more tonnage than the house requires. So they don't struggle to keep it to keep it cool. So we're doing a lot better than we were though.
Well, that's good.
Although you may hear the AC buzz in here, I got it on econ, so it's going to go on and off. Got to keep it kind of lower than normal in here, the temperature of all the equipment running and me being all excited, for doing a show for 2 hours.
I just set mine to 68, so nice and comfy.
68. I thought I was setting mine at 72. We're setting it low.
Anywhere between 68 and 72 is a really good comfort zone.
Oh.
Higher than that, and I'm sweating.
68, I'd be wearing a sweater.
Oh.
But tell everybody, you're drinking sweet tea too, huh?
I'm drinking sweet tea as well. It's a staple in the South.
Hey, just for everybody's information, you got two Southerners here tonight, so we both got our sweet tea going. And our accents are showing a little bit.
Just a little bit.
But how did you get started in the paranormal?
Well, that's actually a very interesting story. I started out as the family genealogist. That's my first love. That's very dear to me. There's like a special place in my soul for genealogy. I started as like that, and then I started to do research into where family members are buried in cemeteries and graveyards, trying to find where our ancestors are and wanted to know more about them. So with that comes with locating cemeteries and finding abandoned cemeteries and finding old cemeteries. So it kind of just snowballed into from doing family research to doing lore and abandoned cemeteries and abandoned places. And all of that just kind of fell right into place.
Okay. I got a question for you.
Sure.
What tool do you use? There's a lot of genealogy sites. A lot of them will send you information. Which company do you use?
I use two for family research. I use Ancestry.com. That's the most popular, wide known, and it's actually very good if you know what you're doing. There's a lot of people who just rather copy and paste information. You just have to look for the information and make sure it's cited and make sure it's the right information. And I also use FamilySearch.com. That's another good source. And then as for genetics, I use 23andMe because literally all of my family's on 23andMe. So it's just easier for me to do it that way.
Oh, I can see that.
You can also use your local libraries for family research. Like if you can't do any of the sites that you have to pay for, FamilySearch.com is free. But you can also use your local library for their Ancestry.com access, and their genealogy department will help you too for free.
Okay. See, my problem is that I was adopted at birth.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
So you see, I'd have to go through DNA to trace my real folks down. Even though my dad tries to hang around a little bit.
Do you have any interest in that at all?
Probably eventually. I'll get around to it. My dad doesn't want to talk to me because he doesn't think that he's worthy. Even though he's a Vietnam vet, and apparently he likes showing psychics his gun. But he's kind of my spirit guide. Anyway, how did you go from doing your ancestry to the paranormal?
Well, it just kind of evolved into this bigger hobby then. It just kind of evolved into this bigger, I'm not, maybe I'm using the wrong terminology, but I went from doing exploring, well, in order to do a lot of my family work, I'm sorry, I'm tongue tied. In order to do a lot of my family history research, you have to, that involves cemeteries and churches and abandoned
Well, yes,
places
of
and
course.
abandoned small towns. So that comes with a lot of ghost stories and a lot of lore in a lot of these places. And that was very intriguing. Like, I'm like, how did this legend start, or how did this ghost story start? And where did all these stories originate from? And that kind of just snowballed into, well, there's more out there. There's, it's not just me. There's more. There's a whole field of the paranormal that I have to just dive deeper into now.
Okay.
It was like, I have to find out more now.
So how long ago was this that you started doing this?
I actually started doing family research about 20 years ago, but I didn't start filming anything for my YouTube channel. I didn't start filming that till about maybe 7 years ago. And then those are mostly just like family videos and stuff like that. And then that slowly evolved to, well, maybe I should start filming where I go. Maybe I should start filming these places and these churches and these cemeteries and talk about what's here. Because a lot of people really don't know what's here. I realized in my region where I live, there's a lot of abandoned places that people just don't know what's here because nobody's looked or just got lost with time. So I started to film that. And then I was like, well, what else is in North Carolina, that's tied to the paranormal, tied to lore, whatever that I can film. And North Carolina is just loaded, absolutely loaded with paranormal stories. So I've traveled a lot in the state itself, and there's just a lot here, a lot that I haven't even covered in 7 years.
There's a lot to look at that's old in North Carolina.
There really
coming
is.
From Georgia, I've been to North Carolina several times, and there's a lot of older things to look at.
There's a lot
from my early
buried with time. It's
some of our earliest colonists, before we became the United States, and before that,
I actually have genetic
Native
ties.
American.
Oh yeah, that too. Mm-hmm.
But you had genetic ties to what?
To the lost colony.
Really?
I do. There's a lost colony DNA project. It's ran by ECU. Now, the originator and the director of the project passed away a few years ago. But if you go into the project surname list, you'll find my maiden name, my mother's maiden name, and my great-grandmother's maiden name, all genetically tied to distant cousins over the pond in England who were descendants of some of the explorers.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty interesting.
Cool. You start running out of material in North Carolina. There's always South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
You go around the Charleston area, there's a lot of stuff there. And of course, Savannah goes without saying.
We went to outside of Charleston last year to a place called Lawrence Plantation. That was really fun. My daughter is a huge Hamilton fan. So the John Lawrence Plantation, his family plantation, sits outside of Charleston in a place called Monarch's Corner. And that place is supposedly haunted. So it was really fun to get her out of her element and combine the paranormal with a musical to film something and show them that, these people actually, lived.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting when you start getting into the paranormal. There's so many different places to go and different things to do. Uh, let's see, where is it? Oh, right here. Like right here. That's the wife and I
Mm-hmm.
uh, taken with a full spectrum camera, uh, sitting there in New Orleans.
When did you go to New Orleans? Because I was there just a couple of years ago.
I was there 6 years ago.
Oh,
3 different times that I was there 6 years ago.
there's something about New Orleans that just it just grips me. It's a special city.
Yes,
There's
there's a
just
lot of
something there.
ghosts. There's a lot of ghosts down there. A lot of them are transitionary.
Hmm.
I had one psychic tell me that there seems to be a spirit highway running through New Orleans, and ghosts from other places come there. And I'm thinking it has a lot to do with the Mississippi
I
because
believe
the
that.
river's right there, and I believe it acts kind of like a spirit highway. Uh, Now, what I was doing 6 years ago, I spent 2 nights investigating the Andrew Jackson Hotel.
Oh, nice.
Uh, uh, there, I also investigated twice 6 years ago at old slave quarters, and
Hmm.
I was there for one night, the last night for the old French Quarter Wax Museum investigation.
Ah, cool.
In fact, it was closed. They had a party for the employees. I was in there on Friday night. They had a party for the employees on Saturday night. Sunday they were open for a little bit, and Monday morning they had people that were buying stuff out of there. They were shutting it down, and now they kept the facade, but it's now condos. But I was in there on a public tour and getting results. And then the tour left. They couldn't stay up all that late. They let me stay there till 5 o'clock in the morning, locked me in the museum by myself with the lights off for 2.5 hours.
That is something I would love to do.
That was, I'm not sure I'd love to do it again or not. I've talked to a lot of paranormal people, and some of them say, no way. But I was locked in. I had to go all the way through all the halls of the wax museum to get through one open door. The closest doors to me in the main hallways were locked,
Oh my gosh.
and the last area you went through had all the old Universal monsters in there: Frankenstein, the Wolfman, the creature from the Black Lagoon. All those displays were there, and I had to go through all of those, which was quite a hike to get to a door to get out. And I realized that when I walked through a closer door,
Hmm.
that when I came back in, it locked behind me again. I was locked in there, and I said, "Oh well." So I just kept on investigating. That that
That is
that was that was interesting, and I was in constant contact. I was using a communications device, Echovox, and I had it on the whole time, and I was in constant communication with 2 or 3 spirits there.
wow. I that sounds like a good time to me. It seriously does. I would
It
do it.
was. The wife and I are going to go down there again, probably another year or so. Uh, we've already picked out the hotel we want to stay at. It's the Lafitte Hotel, which is across the street from the Lafitte Blacksmith Shop Bar.
I can't remember the
which
name
is a
of
very
the
haunted place because I've been there a couple of times, and the fireplace in the place is rather busy.
Mm.
So, where are some of the more haunted places you've been?
I've been to, well, we visited, I actually had the opportunity of visiting the Guidestones in Georgia before they were bombed or destroyed. So that was pretty cool.
Blown up.
Blown up. I actually had the opportunity to do that. And that was coming from up from New Orleans. I got to visit a lot of the cemeteries in NOLA. And then I also got to visit some of the places and shops in downtown New Orleans. And we were just talking about how it was like a spiritual highway. And I fully believe it because everywhere I went and everywhere we ate, everywhere we stopped, it felt like something was there. And we were all over the place, French Quarter, Bourbon Street, literally all over the place. We were over by the Superdome. Like, it was all over the place. Even the Ninth Ward felt off. Felt like there was just something there. And it's just a city, nothing but, like, that city is just full of just spiritual activity everywhere we went. And I'm so looking forward to going back. That's an amazing place.
Well, it was built practically on a swamp.
Mm-hmm.
It's below sea level. So many people have died there.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go to the Marie Laveau tomb while you were there?
Yes, and I actually went to her shop, and I went to her house, and then I tried to get into the cemetery, but her cemetery was actually still on lockdown because it was just after COVID. So that was still on lockdown. So her particular cemetery wasn't open, but all the other ones were. So that was the only thing I did not get to do. But I went
Marie
everywhere.
Laveau is not the bad person.
Not at all.
She's not the bad person a lot of people make her out to be. A lot of people, she was not into voodoo as heavy as people make out. She was more Christian than a voodoo priestess.
One of the books I'm reading
which
says
is not
that
as scary. And
it was a mix of Christianity and being Catholic, and then what she learned
yes,
along the way.
and she was by nature a hairdresser, which is how she
Mhm.
got to know a lot of things. Because you've been to a hairdresser before,
Oh yeah.
and
He
you know
was
yourself, you're going to sit there and talk. Exactly. That's how she got her information. It wasn't any hoodoo, voodoo, or anything like that. Her customers she was one of the best hairdressers in New Orleans.
Mhm.
So she had all the powers that be's wives come to her to have their hair done. So they were just nonstop talking. So she found out what all the movers and shakers were doing.
Mm-hmm. And she just used it to kind of amplify.
That's how she got her
what was already
information.
there.
Yes. She's an amazing person. We've actually spoken on several occasions. I'm not going to get into that.
There's actually a lot of goodwill that she did
for
her community.
Yes. Yes. And she's still doing good stuff.
Oh yeah,
she's taking care of a lot of people on the other side.
I fully believe she's still there. Fully believe, without a doubt.
Have you ever heard of Chris Garcia?
Yes, I have. Yes, actually, I think he's on my Facebook list. I think I have. Yes.
The reason I ask, he can prove that he is actually a descendant of Marie Laveau.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. I know some of her descendants live in Mississippi, and Alabama and Arkansas area too. A lot of her, I think, great and grandkids
Yeah.
live in Mississippi.
Yes. It's some thought, we can't prove it, that my wife is also related to her.
That
Because my
would be
wife's family, her father, on her father's side, came from Louisiana and settled down here in southern Arkansas.
Mhm. That would be kind of awesome to
So,
prove, though.
yeah, uh, her father traced it way back, but it didn't trace it back down to any Marie Laveau descendants, but he didn't get that far back. But the people who he did come up with, I think just went back to his grandparents, were from Louisiana, Arkansas area. As you were talking about, that's where her descendants are.
There's actually, if you go on ancestry.com and look for the surname databases and the surname community boards, there's a group that'll help you prove your lineage if you have any kind of proof to back that up, or any kind of just, even if you think you might be related to her, there's a group there that'll help you like find that.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
That'd be really
She doesn't
fun.
communicate with the wife, but she does communicate with me every now and then. Sometimes she needs my assistance doing something, or just wants to talk or whatever.
That's pretty cool though. I'd be honored.
And now, another thing you can look up on Facebook. Look up a man called Jeff Mudgett.
Jeff Mudgett. Why does that
Yes,
name sound familiar?
because he wrote a book or two, and he was also on a show for the History Channel several years ago because of his grandfather,
Okay.
or great grandfather, I forget which. His ancestor was H. Holmes.
Oh, I remember. You know what? I remember seeing that somewhere. I don't remember if it was
Jeff's
on
a
like.
great guy. Lives out. He lives out in Vegas now. I met him years ago in Chicago when they were first talking. When he was first coming up with information for his book, and they were first talking with the History Channel. They are going to make a motion picture on H. Holmes. And I believe it's going to star a certain person that was on the Titanic who didn't quite make it.
Oh, okay. I see it. I want to say I think I've seen Jeff's story on maybe like the Discovery Channel or the History Channel, because I remember the H. Holmes and the I remember the Jeff name connection too. So I know I saw that somewhere.
You probably saw it on the History Channel.
I remember seeing that.
Jeff's a great guy. We've talked a lot, and we still communicate once in a while on Facebook.
I'm gonna have to look him up.
Have you got something? Have you got something running?
The AC.
No, I hear voices.
That's no.
That's
Maybe
weird.
just feedback or something. I don't know.
Okay, I was hearing. Didn't sound like me. What have you got going on right now?
Well, right now I'm in the middle of a few different projects. A friend of mine and I are working together to combine well, what we were just talking about actually, genealogy and family lore, just in time for the Halloween season. We're going to actually start combining family secrets and family ghost stories and paranormal stories into the aspects of genealogy. So that's going to be fun. And then I have an overnight investigation coming up locally, and then I'm going to be participating in another open public ghost hunt in October. And who knows from there? A lot of these things just fall into my lap at the last minute. So I'll probably will be filming for my personal channel, maybe either tomorrow or Saturday as well.
Okay, cool. I wish I was getting around, but right now I'm just not getting around much. The wife just had back surgery.
Oh,
She
I'm
had
sorry.
She had 3, 4, and 5 fused in her back.
Oh, mm. Her SO4
What's
and
funny is
SO5?
3, 4, and 5.
I have a bad SO4 and SO5 with a pinched nerve, and that I can only imagine what she's going through.
Mm-hmm.
I know
What's
that
interesting is that the neighbor across the street, his wife's had the same thing done a month before she did.
Wow, so you were both out at the same time.
Yeah, had both wives out at the same time. And, of course we've talked a few times, but he works. He is more than ready to retire, but of course they're kind of hurting a little bit because they're missing her income.
Oh, yeah, I can only imagine with that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine because we're missing the wife's income because she was still working, and I'm retired, and with no plans to go back to work with two artificial knees, and I've got no strength in my hands anymore. I have no real grip,
Mm-mm.
so there's no way I go back to work. Plus, why should I? I came down here to retire. I was busy in Chicago, going nonstop, either working or working with the paranormal, or doing this and that. And back in Georgia, I was either working, I was doing a little ghost hunting, doing a little urbenex, woods exploring. I was in '96. I was working with the Olympics. So I'm retired.
That's literally my life right now. I mean, I have to work. I have to take care of kids and pay the bills. So I have to work. But I'm working, or I'm cleaning up my house, or I'm out filming and exploring. And because my YouTube channel is monetized, that helps bring in some kind of extra income. It helps supplement. So there's like the extra push to get content out. But I'm either working or at home or creating content, and it's just like go, 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 go. And I just want to take a break, at least a little bit of a break here and there.
Yes.
So I don't burn out.
Right. And that's that I've had that happen before, just complete burnout. Right. I just didn't want to do anything. So now I'm not doing anything unless I want to. So I'm getting into the show, having a good time with it. Most people on the show say they're having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, no, yeah, it's a fun outlet. It really is, because not too many people understand what it's like and what you have to go through and everything that it entails, like between work and life and balance and balancing out your content, and then having to fulfill so many other obligations and having to wear so many different masks for everybody. It's just not too many people get that.
What editing tool do you use for your videos?
I use Wondershare and Filmora, and I freaking love it. I would have recommended that to anybody. It has a little bit of a learning curve, but it's really good. Like if you're just starting out, it's really good to learn, but it also has a learning curve if you're more experienced. So it's perfect for anybody.
Now, you just use both of them on what, the same video, or just various, or
I use, well, Wondershare is the name of the company, and then Filmora is the name of the editing software.
okay.
But yeah, I would recommend it to anybody because it runs perfectly. And there's so many, there's just so much that comes with it and so much that you can buy for it. It comes with a lot of free, well, the program you have to purchase, but it comes with so much that it makes it worth the price you have to pay for it. And then there's all these other add-ons that you can get for free. So that's my go-to recommendation when anybody asks if they need some sort of editing program.
Okay.
And I've tried them all. Back in the day, it was like Windows Movie Maker or Adobe, and no, this is my go-to. This is my straight go-to.
Okay. Good information to know.
It's a neat little program.
Because being a boomer, remember I was born in 1956, so I was born in the 11th year of boomers. And if you go 18 year generation, that's 9. So I was actually the 11th year. So I'm not too far from the dead center being a boomer. So editing videos is my weak spot. I'm not very good at it.
It does say, oh, neither was I in the very beginning. In the very beginning, I it was horrible. I sucked. My videos were so bad in the beginning, but you learn as you go, and that's part of the experience.
Okay. Oh, one other person. Have you ever heard of Wonder Hussy?
Maybe it's vaguely sounds familiar.
YouTube.
Wonder. I don't think so. I may know that.
She's gotten good at doing videos
I do
out
know
there.
her.
Her real name is Sarah Jane.
I see the face. I do know her.
She has a pretty well-known, famous, let's say extremely attractive face. She has even better personality.
I think I've came across her a couple of times.
She's mainly out west. She goes to a lot of places I'll never get to, which is why I watch her channel. She's a very entertaining person.
I know. I see people go to all these places, and I'm like, I want to go there so bad.
So I need to get what I need to do is get on the program like you're talking about, and get off my lazy fanny and edit some videos and put them on my YouTube channel. Because some of the stuff is hard to believe.
Some stuff is really hard to believe. I actually caught. They don't know what this is. They don't know if it's like a dust devil or somebody walking through a pile of leaves. But I caught that recently. I think it was. Let me find the video. But I caught it, and I was actually testing out a REM pod a friend had custom made just for me, and I caught. I don't know if it's like a dust devil or some. It looks like a spirit walking through leaves, one or the other. Even I had somebody from our local historical society watch it, and they're like, there's no way, like we don't know what this is either. It's so freaking cool. So that was interesting to kind of like watch and be like, what is this, and actually catch it on camera. I'm trying to find it just so I can send it to you because it's really neat.
Oh, do you know Lorraine Peckham?
Yeah, that's my mom.
Okay, she was looking in on us.
She's actually watching from downstairs.
Okay. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. But let me shoot you that video real quick because it's really cool.
Yeah, your daughter is sitting here talking on the internet to some hot 66-year-old man.
About ghosts and cemeteries and abandoned buildings and the whole nine. I don't know exactly where the timestamp on that would be, but I think it's closer to the end.
Hmm. Just put the link in private chat. I'll watch it later.
I got you.
Oh, do you recognize this place?
Not right off the bat.
Okay, you see the light, the sunlight hitting the brick wall,
Yes.
and you see those 3 white pipes coming down the wall to this box sitting there.
Yes, I see that.
That's approximately the location where John Dillinger fell when he died.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This is right down, just 30 seconds walking distance from the Biograph in Chicago. This one is me in the Roth House, if you've ever heard of that one.
I have heard of the Rough House.
That's me in the basement of the Roth House. And the hat, the feather in the hat, came from Bachelor's Grove, the gift of an Indian shaman. There's an Indian village that was just the other side of the creek from the cemetery. And that village, from what we found in research, was wiped out by fellow Native Americans back before the Germans ever moved into the area. There was a roving Indian tribe that was known to be in the area, and they were coming through about 500 years ago, and may have wiped out the small tribe that lived in the area. And the gift was, I went back there with a ghost box and let the Native American spirits talk all they wanted and commune with the Native Americans. And when I came back out, a tree I walked beside had the feather laying on the ground out of my hat. That's a tail feather from red-tailed hawk.
Wow. And coming from Chicago, you have, like you were just talking about, all the gangster activity and all the mafia activity. And then you have all the Native American, indigenous stories too in that area.
Also Civil War. There's a park there in the city. You've heard of Abraham Lincoln, correct?
Oh yeah. Of course.
You've heard of Stephen Douglas.
Yes.
He debated Lincoln.
Yes.
There's Stephen Douglas Park. You
Okay.
got one small section of the wall from his old home. They do have his tomb still sitting there. And during the summer, they will open the tomb up. And you can walk right up to Stephen Douglas sarcophagus.
That would be so cool.
And you can literally reach out, if you're so inclined, reach out. It's all stone, so you're not going to hurt anything. And they kind of keep an eye on you. There's no spray paint, no chipping, no violence, no nothing allowed. But since it is a city park, the city will press charges against you. Start tearing up city property.
Oh, yeah. Oh gosh, yes. You can get in so much trouble for that.
But you can literally walk up and put your hand on the sarcophagus, not just the tomb. You can go inside the tomb and touch the Stephen Douglas sarcophagus. And right there, just 100 yards away, is where Camp Douglas used to be. where it's an 80-acre training camp for the Civil War for people that were drafted out of Chicago. And when they started getting prisoners, they were looking for a place to keep prisoners, and they kept thousands of Confederate prisoners there over the next 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And between 4,000 and 6,000 prisoners died there.
Mm.
So add that to the mob history in Chicago, the energy that was the fire in Chicago,
You'll have it.
Prohibition. Oh, here's one for you. Look up the Eastland, SS Eastland,
SS.
just like it's spelled, Eastland, just like it's Eastland. Obviously, the SS, it's a ship.
The SS Eastland.
It flipped over in the Chicago River a couple of years after the Titanic, and actually killed eerily close to the same exact number that died on the Titanic. One difference: most of the passengers got off the Titanic. There wasn't all that many passengers that died. It's mostly crew who died on the Titanic. On the Eastland, there was only about 12, 15 crew on board the boat. It was all passengers, employees of Western Electric, that drowned in about 14 feet of water.
And it said it was rolled over onto its side while it was trying to dock in the Chicago River.
It was already docked.
Oh, okay. It was already docked.
They put too many people on board, and it rolled over. It rolled over. You ever heard of Oprah Winfrey?
Yes.
Her studio was right there. And back with the East, it was an old building. When the Eastland rolled over, what became her studios, Harpo Studios, was used as a storage place for the bodies for several weeks until they could all be identified.
And she put her studio on top of it?
Put her studio in it.
That's not asking for trouble.
She would not let anybody investigate, but she said she would not go in there by herself. That she definitely saw and heard things she didn't want to talk about.
That's nuts.
And there was one cemetery, the Bohemian Cemetery, where a lot of the people who died on the Eastland are buried. And I went there at the 100th anniversary of the Eastland disaster, which was just a few months before I left Chicago. So we're talking almost 7 years ago. But I sat there for hours and got all kinds of answers over a ghost box. Because they got a little memorial set up in the cemetery. They'll sit there at that memorial for hours and hours, just listening.
Mm-hmm.
And what we got was rather incredible and interactive, because we actually got them answering questions.
Wow.
So that was a unique experience. And
I
if you
bet.
still go to where the Eastland rolled over, you can hear sometimes, if you're lucky, screams at day and night.
I mean, you have all that energy just concentrated on one area.
Yes.
And all that tragedy and energy.
Yes. And the fact that so many people died there, and then you go not that far away to Camp Douglas, where between 4,000 and 6,000 people died. And the energy is incredible. And then you go to City Cemetery, where it was right there by the lake. You think, oh, it's beautiful, serene, until the lake had a storm and threw water into the cemetery, and then they had to go chase down all the coffins because any kind of wave crashing would dig up the coffins, and they had to go out there in boats and collect the coffins because they were all floating in the lake. And guess what else is out there not too far out in the lake from that position? The water intake for the city.
Oh, okay.
So you had dead bodies floating around the water intake for the entire city.
That's not. Oh my gosh. That's not. I hope they had a lot of water filtrations within their house. I hope they had
there was no such thing. This was in the early part of the 19th century.
That's just
and even in the early 20th century, they didn't have any filtration or anything hooked up to that water intake. And if you run your bath water, you get in the tub, and sometimes there was a fish or two that's swimming around in the tub with you.
Oh God.
They got sucked in through the water intake and made it through the plumbing and made it all the way to your tub.
That's great. That's interesting.
So, welcome to Chicago. I spent most of my 14 and a half years studying weird stuff like this. I found out stuff that a lot of Chicagoans don't know. And one thing I did while I was up there, I worked for a sales company. I also had a newsstand for a while, right in the middle of downtown Chicago.
Huh. Okay. That'd be cool to have.
That was interesting. Get to know a lot of interesting people.
I was going to say, you can run into all kinds of people every single day, in and out, day in and day out.
From business people, my newsstand wasn't far from Loyola University, and then of course you met the lowlifes because you had the homeless people living right there. So it was an insane experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It was very interesting moving from Georgia to Chicago, but I like it here. Like right here, I'm listening. There's not going to be a sound in this house unless it's an air conditioner compressor kicking in, and nothing on the outside. Now, one show, you might watch Miranda's show, The Ghost Biker.
I've heard of it, yes.
She was on the show, and I got a window right here to my right. And I heard a knock and commented about the knock on the window. There's no limb anywhere near this window, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
The second time the knock came on the window, she heard it. Not me say it was there. She heard the knock.
She heard the knock.
There's no limb close to this window. There's trees back there 50 feet away.
But nothing relatively close to knock on your window.
No. So that was a weird night.
Just don't answer it.
I did not answer the window.
Just don't answer it.
One night during the show, I had a flute player. I've got a Native American woman that walks through here once in a while, plays a Native American flute.
Aw.
That
would be interesting to witness.
I live in an interesting area. I've come to find out that in the Bartholomew Bayou, 25,000 years ago is where the Arkansas River used to run. About 25,000 years ago, it changed course and left a big hole in the ground, which filled with water and became a bayou. And they ran riverboats down the bayou to about 1912, 1913, which would have meant 125 years ago, I could be sitting here. And now it was not the full size big river boats like you see on the Mississippi, but it was smaller, steam driven paddle wheelers going up and down the bayou. And they drove them to about 1912, 1913. So 125 years ago, I would have been hearing whistles and river boats coming by.
Wow. I would love to hear that, actually.
Did you go when you were in New Orleans? Did you go on the Natchez?
I did not, because that was still closed, I believe.
Okay.
There are a lot of things still.
Yes. You need to go back down there when you can. Go on the Natchez or the other one on an evening cruise. The food is good, and you can sit there and tour the boat, and they take you down further down river to where you see some of the ships docked. And we're talking about full size freighters docked, either loading or offloading.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. There's also a rum distiller that's been there for over 100 years. Go there if you go get a tour there. They pick you up. You go down there to the French Market area.
Mm-hmm.
Just maybe 60, 70 yards from Cafe du Monde.
That's one of my favorite places.
So it's about maybe 50 yards from Cafe du Monde. They'll pick you up, take you to the French Quarter distillery, and they distill rum there. And they will give you free samples.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't know if you and your husband drink or not, but eat you something before you go. They'll give you about 4, maybe 6 shots of their different flavored alcohol rum.
I'm not a heavy drinker. I'm more of a social. I might drink every once in a while person, but that sounds really fun.
What would you do with 6 shots of rum in you?
It would probably put me in a coma because I'm not a heavy drinker. Now I can't take a shot or two. Don't get me wrong. I can take a shot of whiskey, maybe 1 or 2, and be fine. But beyond that, I'm just no. I can't stomach too much after that.
I went in there, and they lined us 5 shots per person. My wife is a teetotaler. She cannot drink alcohol at all. Her body will not tolerate it. I drank my 5, drank her 5.
Oh, no.
And then I was talking with a German tourist, and he and I were looking at the more expensive bottle, $85 back then, 6 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
of rum. And we asked to sample it again, and they went ahead and let us both have a sample of this $85 bottle of rum. So I'd already had 10 shots.
Oh, no.
Of rum. So here come number 11. And of course, he and I made a big deal of it, toasted each other. And that I hope I represented America well.
It sounds like you did.
But he was a little bit toasty that was his 6th shot. I was very toasty being my 11th shot.
Oh my gosh. I can't. I'll be joining the spirits after 12 shots.
This was very quick too. It was the shots. It's not like I spent an hour and a half. This was all in a few minutes.
I know. I don't know how you stood up after that.
Barely.
No, no. There's
So
no way I
that
could do that and still be okay.
and then it was that night. Was it? Yeah, it was that night that I went on the cruise with the Natchez. And there's of course there's alcoholic beverages there. So I still had a buzz from the rum factor. Here I am drinking. So I forget what I was drinking. Probably a hurricane,
Oh my
which is of
gosh.
course uh, rum is features prominently in a hurricane. If you ever read
Hmm.
the recipe on a hurricane, that was an interesting evening. I actually managed to shoot a few pictures of the boat.
I can't remember anything past 2 or 3 shots and who you are drinking whatever they put in front of you.
Well, it was these different flavored rums. They were all different colors, so we knew which ones were which. And they were all smooth. They're all it's a high quality rum, especially the expensive bottle, and it just goes down like it's nothing. There's no aftertaste, no real burn. Uh, all of it's just good sipping rum, and it's fun to look at. They still
Apparently
got
that's the
scars.
key is to get it all different colors and maybe I'll drink it.
They still had scars on the walls from Katrina.
Yes.
They,
Yes.
that Katrina almost put them out of business because the water was 6 foot throughout their factory, through the whole distillery.
There's a lot of places down there that are still suffering. When I
Yes,
went and visited, there's still a lot of this was maybe 2 years ago that they were just still suffering from Katrina. Like
yes.
you can still see watermarks, you can still see
Hmm.
a lot of the buildings that they just can't repair. Um a lot of damage that just is never going to come back.
No. Well, the whole city changed. You had a big population change. You had a lot of people from New Orleans left and never came back,
Hmm.
and they got replaced by non natives. That most of your tour guides down there now, and most of your businesses are owned by non native New Orleans,
Hmm.
New Orleans people. They're people coming from other states, sensed an opportunity, and went down there and opened up a business or whatever. So many people you talk to are not native to the area. That's why it's always fun talking to a native, of course, of the accents.
And you can like I could tell instantly who was native and who wasn't because
Yes.
it was like a certain I don't want to say maybe a lot of the old residents spoke like a certain kind of Creole, and you can
Right.
hear the accent in their voices, and you can tell they've been there for a really long time. And then you can
Yeah.
tell who hadn't been there for a long time.
Right.
And whenever we ate, we chose diners specifically that had been there for a while just to get that authentic feeling. And we got some of the best, amazing food ever. Like I have not had food that good. No, no, I have not had food that good since I left New Orleans. I have not.
And you never will.
No. There's this amazing place called Toast that we ate, and it was just so good. Man, it was the best thing ever. Even like the little run of like, even like the all the places and all the restaurants that look run down and shanties that look horrible, their food was the best. Like
Hmm.
you cannot get bad food in New Orleans. You can't.
No,
It's
no.
impossible. There's just so
One
much love that
place,
goes into it.
yeah. One place we went to was a guy whose family did move there, but well before Katrina. Was called. You can look this one up to the Napoleon House.
Hmm.
The house was built by a Frenchman who was obviously a fan of Napoleon. And when Napoleon lost Waterloo, they put him on what Elba,
Hmm.
if I remember my history right, it made arrangements for him to stay down there the rest of his life, where he was killed by wallpaper.
Oh, I've heard that before.
And but a guy that knew him and apparently almighty in love with him built a house and put it out that he would be glad to allow Napoleon to spend the rest of his life in his house. But by the time the note got over to France, they'd already took him to Elba, and he stayed there. Had he moved to New Orleans, he may have lived longer. The wallpaper couldn't have got him. But it's a restaurant. When this owner took it over, it was in the contract that he had to keep the house like it was.
Mm-hmm.
He did any renovations, it was strictly repair and replace anything that needed to be replaced, but no remodeling. So it's pretty much like it was when it was built. And that's definitely a strange place. Of course, being a house that old, there's people who've lived and died there. It's a beautiful place to tour, and the food is quite good. They've got one of the best po' boy sandwiches in New Orleans.
Oh my gosh, making me hungry. Like, I have not had. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, the South has amazing food anyway, but I have not had that good of a food in general since New Orleans. Oh man, it's just something about it. I can't describe it. Unless you've been and eaten in New Orleans, then you're not going to understand.
No, you're not. We also like to go to the Oyster House. It's across the street from the brewery.
I'm allergic to seafood, so I can't eat. I couldn't eat half of their food, but
you're right.
So I stuck I had to eat most chicken and
right.
A lot of their chicken entrees and a lot of their chicken dishes and pizza, and then whatever they didn't have that wasn't seafood. There's a lot of seafood there, and I just couldn't have it. I ate a lot of beignets though.
My first trip to New Orleans in 1980. I caught a place that had they were having a special. They apparently somebody had come up and unloaded their boat on them. They had lobster, a whole lobster for $14.99. Of course, that was a lot of money in 1980.
Mm-hmm.
But the night I went there was 2 for $1.
Oh my gosh!
So I sat there and ate 2 pretty good sized lobsters in one sitting. Back that's a long time ago. I was 80. I was a little bit more active and a couple of years younger than I am now. But that was amazing. That was an amazing evening. Put it this way, that I was there to watch the Sugar Bowl.
Oh, okay.
And that's when Herschel Walker, in his freshman year, beat Notre Dame. And of course, now Herschel's running for Senate in Georgia. And apparently, from his speeches, he got hit in the head a couple too many times when he was playing for Dallas and playing for Minnesota.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Oh, you got somebody in the room with you?
No, my sister's across the hall. I just heard the door open.
Okay.
Just making sure it's an actual human.
Yeah.
And I just heard her cough, so it's her.
Okay. The reason I ask, during these shows, I've seen animals, dogs, cats, people popping up. Oh, it's halftime, a little bit past halftime, and I may have promised a friend of mine to talk about his little event.
Oh, cute.
DNA Paranormal, haunted evening at the Mineral Springs Hotel in Alton, Illinois. Very haunted place. They've got a Confederate cemetery. There was a prison camp there. So you got of course, everything goes in and around a hotel. And it's also got, like I said, the Confederate cemetery there. So it's a very haunted location. And you see what all they've got for the price. That is not bad for $30.
That's not bad at all for the price. That's not bad at all.
And I was talking to Dale last week. Non-Com 7.
I've seen that promoted like 3 times across my Facebook feed this past week.
Dale Kaczmarek said he's going to be there.
I think we all run into the same group of people.
Mm-hmm. The Pottstown Elementary School. He's looking forward to that. So, and also I've got this one. I forget the Psychic Fair, the Holiday Inn in San Jose, California.
Mm-hmm.
They've got some guests, vendors, exposition hall, and of course it's a one-day event, 10 to 6. Those are all of these events would be fun to go to.
Those look really interesting.
Dale he is going to send me, it's on October, he's going to have his own one-day Paracon, which should be interesting. The person who had a Paracon in Chicago for years and years has stopped having it. She's basically backed out of the paranormal. And you've got a couple of different people have gone up there trying to, fill the void.
Mm-hmm.
Every major city should have a Paracon, and Chicago being, in the top 5 largest cities. It's debatable where they're actually still the 3rd largest. Houston's right there with them. Houston may have a few hundred, maybe 1,000 more people than Chicago now.
We don't have anything like that here, unfortunately.
Well, I live in a town. I forgot to tell you about Star City. Just over 2,200 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I live a mile and a half outside the city limit. The Cane Creek Township area here has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe at most 10 households other than us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
That's really, really small.
That's next to nothing. And everybody's on a 4-acre lot. So we just, there's not a whole lot here. Star City has only got one grocery store. It's got a Sonic, a McDonald's. There is a Chinese restaurant. There is a Subway, and there is a Mexican restaurant. And that's about it.
That's very similar to where I'm originally from. My hometown in Plymouth, North Carolina. It's really, really small. I think it only has like one stoplight and one grocery store and one gas station. And I heard they actually put in a red box a couple years ago. So we're moving up.
Star City has one stoplight. And the town was founded in 1870. And what's kind of neat, they didn't have the courthouse, of course, when the city was founded. They signed the papers, to incorporate the little town. They didn't have a building to keep the county records, so they kept it in a church out here in Cane Creek Township. And I can walk to that church if I cut across my neighbor's lot behind me in 15, 20 minutes, where they kept the old records of Star City.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Some of my favorite things to do are like just go through the county records and city records because you can find some really interesting stuff. Very Deep.
I found an old cemetery that would fit in most houses, most American houses.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's about twice as long as it is wide. You can almost spit across it.
Oof.
There's only about room for about 3 graves lengthwise in the thing. And it almost didn't see it because it's got a couple of shorter tombs, not the big walk-in tombs, but the shorter ones. And a lot of people buried in just shoulder to shoulder. But that was interesting. We also had, not too far from here, is a larger cemetery, a more modern one. And would you believe there was a battlefield where 5 people got killed back in the Civil War, right there at the cemetery.
That's actually that's one of the things I love about what I do when I have to go digging through records, because you can find all kinds of, especially with cemeteries, like, because none of them are really preserved. So you have to go find the area and you have to track them down and find them. And it's a pain and it gets frustrating. But once you found it, you get like that big aha movement, like, oh, this is where it is. And this happened here.
And that old one was that way. I found the record of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a while to find it. And finally we changed directions. And it was driving the wife was driving. I said, there it is right there, because I could see something sticking up. And we drove over to it, and there it was. So, of course, I went in there. I went in there and investigated it for about 2 hours.
I love when you just find them like that. One of my very first finds was literally right under my nose, and I couldn't see it. The first couple times I went looking for it, because it was like behind this huge cornfield, and you couldn't see through the corn.
Oh, wow.
All the directions were telling me it was back there. So I go through one day and all the corn had been harvested. And I see like this little glimmer of a gate way past the cornfield. And I'm like, that has to be it. And it took me like almost 3 years to find this because of the stupid corn.
Could you get to it?
Yeah, I got to it. I've been there like 3 or 4 times. I love that place. But it was so frustrating because I could never ever see it because the corn was in the way.
Wow. I have not been back to this old cemetery because the ground is rough. They're redoing a city park that's there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of right on the edge of a park, or past park. They're trying to restore it. But one of the largest prisons in Arkansas is right there. It's literally right there between the park and the prison. And of course, it's a scary area to go to. They say don't pick up hitchhikers.
That would be a weird place.
And of course, the road from the prison camp leads right by it. So all the guards are looking at you like, what are those people doing standing over there? Is that escaped prisoners?
Just don't wear orange and you'll be fine. Right.
Of course, being a paranormal investigator, I was pretty much dressed in black anyway.
Oh no.
I've got black on now. This shirt's black. These lights, believe it or not, are supposed to be UV bulbs.
Oh, okay. Because you look.
As you can see, they don't put out UV light. They put out more IR light. So I got IR light behind me, and I can't see hardly anything behind me. That looks like, I'm going to hit over. That looks like a very bright light. But I can turn my head and look straight at it, and I don't see a whole lot. Just a little bit of red inside the bulb. This camera's picking up a little bit of IR light. Now overhead, I've got 2 UV bulbs.
Gotcha.
Oh, have you met my producer?
Oh. It looks lonely.
That's Bones. Yeah, that's Bones.
Bones looks super happy to be there.
Mm-hmm. And there's my hat with a feather in it. And those are some kind of IR lights. And there's the other lights behind. That's some paranormal souvenir shirts I've gotten over the years, mostly in Chicago. That ghost on them. And move over here. And got some ghosties and some other Halloween stuff. There's my internet box right up there. And if you go over here, I've been a photographer for years, and all this is some pictures I've taken or people I've met, mostly female who are in bodybuilding competitions up here. There's a picture of the wife over there. My wife is a former powerlifter, by the way.
Oh, that's interesting.
And over here, I've got some other interesting stuff, like a big snake. And if you want to, look up Richard Crowe with Chicago.
Richard Crowe, Chicago?
Yes. Yes, he did too as a tour guide, and he's the father of the paranormal. Everybody in the paranormal was kind of brought out by him. And I worked with him his last John Dillinger event. In fact, the day that I took the picture earlier of the alley was an anniversary of his killing.
Oh, okay.
And I helped him do his last show. And Facebook has the video. And every year, of course, the memories, how Facebook is. They throw it up, and I share it with everybody on the day of John Dillinger, because Richard Crowe died less than a year later. He got cancer, and that was the last time he did the John Dillinger event. That was a lot of fun. He cranked it. We met at the bar. I get spent 2.5 hours drinking at a bar. Here's two old guys. 2.5 hours drinking, and then we do a paranormal event. I also joined the Westerners Club he was a member of, where we would meet once a month talking about Westerns. And of course, he's from the Chicago area, which back in the day was the Wild Wild West. And I was from Columbus, Georgia, which in its day was the Wild West, and was the very beginning of the Trail of Tears over in just a few miles to the west over in Alabama, which came through Arkansas. And I'm actually living not too far from where they walked through Arkansas to Oklahoma.
And it's funny you say that, because I'm not too far away from the very beginning of the Trail of Tears in North Carolina. Like that little piece in the NC Mountains, that's not far away from here either. And it extends farther than what people think. It's so sad, but so interesting. Like, it's larger than what people ever thought it was.
So yeah, I've been hanging around Native American spirits most of my life, because they're all over. Because there were so many of them here. In your area too was just covered with them.
I'm in the area where the Catawba and the Cherokee constantly fought. I actually live in Catawba County, so named after the Catawba Indians, where this area specifically fought. You had the Revolutionary War going on, and then you had the Catawba Indians and Cherokee literally at each other, and then you had the Catawba and the Revolutionary War soldiers like team up against the Cherokee, and they were just everybody fighting each other all at once, just in this one little area.
War is one thing that humans are good at.
Oh, definitely. I agree. It's a constant.
I read a science fiction book once, and it was in a universe where not many advanced races, spacefaring races, had any kind of recent experience in war whatsoever until the humans got out there. And it said, don't mess with don't start a war with the humans
That's very
because we
hard
are
hitting.
very, very good at it.
And I don't think he meant that in a very complimentary way either.
No, he didn't. That's a very, very backhanded compliment or insult, but it's also quite true.
It's very true.
That's one thing that we are good at. And of course, I knew that because I grew up right next to Fort Benning, Georgia. And if you ever look up the Green Berets, you may have to ask your mother about that movie. It came out in 68, 68, I believe.
My aunt, my mom's sister was actually stationed at Benning, and I'm pretty sure they talked about that movie before.
It was John Wayne movie. And George Takei, if you ever watched Star Trek.
Yep.
You know George Takei, Mr. Sulu.
Love George Takei.
Okay, do you remember, if you watched a lot of the Star Trek, remember the episode where, I forget what they called it, the Trill or something like that, where they got Kirk and a couple of other members of his crew, including Mr. Chekhov, where they had to fight. They had some disembodied brains. They wanted to bring the entire crew of the Enterprise down there and put them fighting in their arena.
I think I do remember that one.
It was a very attractive, skinny young lady with, I think, a blue wig that was training Kirk. Of course, he gets the good-looking women, of course. She's supposed to train him to fight and end up making out. And she worked in Vegas, and they got her there for her looks and the fact that she wasn't going to charge a whole bunch of money, and I agreed to kiss Kirk a few times.
I mean, who wouldn't?
I wouldn't, but you know. Of course, I have met George Takei, and I actually got to meet this young woman. She was at a sci-fi con. So I actually got to meet her a little bit. She was interesting. But anyway, George Takei was in the Green Berets with John Wayne. It was filmed at Fort Benning and a little bit in Columbus, Georgia. And if you also remember a more recent movie with Mel Gibson, We Were Soldiers.
Yes.
That meeting that they had where they were outside and he was talking about, I'll be the first one to step on the battlefield and the last one to step off, and I will bring you home dead or alive. That was actually done in the football stadium there at Fort Benning, Georgia.
Oh, okay.
All the people in the stands were extras, and I think 2 or 3 people I worked with at AT&T Cable at the time were actually extras sitting in the stands in that movie. But that was obviously filmed there at Fort Benning, and they filmed the part where they were catching the bus when they were first getting shipped over to Nam. They had the jump towers.
Oh,
in the
okay.
background. That was filmed right there. That's actually one of the reasons I got divorced from my first wife. We went out to Fort Benning for kind of a picnic. It was kind of open, for the Army. And I talked her into going on a zip line.
Oh.
This is a military Army zip line. So they got her up, and she was ready to go down the zip line. And the GI there kind of winked at me. I winked back, and he shoved her down that zip line.
Oh no, no. That
And that's one of the reasons I got divorced. And it was just one long scream.
over a zip line.
And we're talking about the zip line that where you got up was about 50, 60 feet in the air. So she flying down the zip line.
That is funny. That's
Yes,
hilarious.
I thought it was hilarious. She did not think it was very funny.
I don't think she found any humor in that at all. But the story is funny.
Another reason I'm divorced, we went up to North Georgia on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And we, those are not really, they're not the Alps or the Himalayas, but we hiked up 3 mountains in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine how my ex-wife felt about that.
I don't think she was very pleased.
No. You can look this one up too. So it's a state park, Fort Mountain State Park. It's got a weird rock formation that's actually down there. You're only talking about something that's a foot or so tall, but it's actually built in the shape of an old Spanish fort.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know who built it. They don't know if Native Americans built it or whether some Spanish conquistadors, I think the Leon or excuse me, a couple of those other Spanish explorers that explored the South came through there and had some Native American troubles and just stacked up some stone. But that's why they call it Fort Mountain. And I got her up that mountain, and there we were standing in front of this interesting pile of rock. And she was wondering why we were standing there staring at this pile of rock.
Oh my gosh.
And it said, we're standing on Fort Mountain. That's what we came here for, to see this fort. They're here on this mountain. Okay, we've seen it.
Oh man. You just couldn't stand there and take in the history of it.
Because you don't know what the history is. They don't know who built it. It's very interesting. But you don't know what exactly happened there. It's kind of crazy. Now the second wife, Gail, we were 2 years ago checking out some of the battlefields here in Arkansas, and one of them was called Mark's Mill.
Okay.
And it was Mark's Mill. That's the family name, Marks. And in 1863, I believe, the Union sent the army down from Little Rock to try to take the southern capital of Arkansas, which was further south, Camden. And they needed a resupply. So they were sending a wagon train up to resupply. They had been raiding Confederate homes and had stolen everything of value out of the homes. And we're taking all that booty back up to Little Rock and get supplies to the army, come back down.
Mm-hmm.
So they come by this plantation and stopped. The lead wagon stopped in front of the plantation house. And I don't know if you know anything about the military. And
a little.
We use this in when we were in Afghanistan and Iraq. 2 wars in Iraq. When you've got a column, I don't care if it's horse-drawn wagons or tanks or trucks or whatever, you've got them strung out on a road, long line of them. The best way to destroy that is to destroy the lead vehicle. then destroy the last vehicle. Because the rest of the column can't go forward, it can't go back. They're stuck. And then you shoot at the rest of them at your leisure.
That's pretty strategic.
That's military strategy. You're absolutely correct. Well, it's like taking a bridge. What's the best way to take a bridge? If you've got, see a bridge, it's held by the enemy, what's the best way to take it? You take it from both sides at once.
Mm.
You're on the land, you've got your opponent is forced onto the bridge, and there's not too many places to hide on the bridge, especially when you're attacking from two different directions. And that's how you take a bridge. So now you know if you ever join the army, you can go take a bridge now.
Take a bridge down from front to
Yeah.
end.
Yeah, just get your husband or your buddy, your sister, and attack the other end while you're attacking the one closest to you.
Understood.
But the lead wagon was the drivers were shot right at the front door of the plantation. Well, I was the plantation is gone. The house is gone, and I was investigating. They got kind of the footprint of the house kind of laid out there. So I was standing in what used to be the middle of the house, of course, investigating the house, and realized that our car was parked exactly where the wagon was when the guy was shot.
Oh, ew. Yeah.
And she was sitting there enjoying herself on playing a game on her phone. And then I let her know that, and then she let me know what she thought of that. So you can imagine what those words were.
She wasn't very happy.
No. Her father was in the Air Force, and her grandfather on her mother's side was in, oh no, he was a Marine, I think. She had another relative in the Army. She never got to travel around like a lot of military brats do, but she's got military in her blood. But she didn't appreciate the fact that I'd parked the car just accidentally right where the first wagon was. The bad thing was there was a 12-year-old, I think, and a 14-year-old girl who lived there in the house. They were watching, of course. I mean, you got excitement. You got this huge wagon train that was 2.5 miles long, about to go by their house.
Mm-hmm.
So they were watching it, and they were watching the lead wagon as the two drivers got shot.
Oh.
And the Confederates attacked them over the woods, and the whole fight started ensuing. So naturally, their house got used as a hospital by both Union and Confederate. And here's a 12-year-old girl and a 13 or 14-year-old girl got pressed into nursing extremely shot and some dying individuals. Can you imagine a 12-year-old girl in today's world having to act as a nurse to shot and sometimes dying young men?
Mm-mm.
But that's what happened there.
That's a lot to shoulder.
Yes. That's a lot for anybody to shoulder. A 12-year-old girl? And then they had to help bury them. And that's an active place.
I have a daughter who's 14, and I can't even imagine her doing that.
Yeah, there's no telling what to say if you even mentioned. I mean, could you be a nurse to some people who were shot in a fight?
I mean, I don't even know if I could. And that was my passion at one point, was nursing. I don't know if I could. like on the spot. Like I remember a lot of the training still, and I remember a lot of the terminology still, and I can probably run an IV or patch a wound if I had to, stitches, no problem. But to be like on the spot emergency, I don't think I could do it as quick as I want to think I can do it. I don't think I could do it.
Especially if you were forced to use 1863 technology.
Mm-mm. No anesthesia.
Not much.
No anesthesia.
A little bit of whiskey if you were lucky.
You had
And
whiskey.
to sterilize, you had to get well water and boil it.
You could use whiskey to sterilize too, but that was even risky too as well. But oh man, that the instruments weren't. They were crude. They were dirty, and the wounds that were left by muskets, because muskets would totally destroy a bone or organ. Was just
have you ever seen the balls that they used in the Civil War?
I have, and they're not. They will destroy anything without an exit wound. In most cases,
they were almost this big.
they were huge.
If that thing hit a bone from even at 100 yards, it was just going to shatter the bone.
It's gonna, yeah. There's no coming back from that.
Yeah, and if with that kind of shattering, there's no fixing that. You cut the leg off.
Yeah. You had to amputate.
And then you had a lot of people. A lot of your amputated people died anyway because of infection
And shock and trauma, and then just blood loss. Because you can use crude tourniquets, but at the same time, you were losing blood just as fast as you were trying to put on the tourniquet. So there's really no point in using a tourniquet because you're going into shock anyway.
Right.
And if not, you're going to die from infection.
It's crazy back then. But there was a lot of people killed right there and a lot of people buried there. And that's only, I get there in about 45, 50 minutes from here. I want to talk to the Marks family. They're still on the property. And go in there with somebody. I don't want to do it by myself. And go in there for an overnighter, because the Marks cemetery, their family cemetery, is right there too. Would you believe they have reunions at the family cemetery?
Oh, that would be so cool though. Like, I know it sounds weird to people, but that'd be so cool.
You know they used to do that, right?
They used to have reunions and picnics in cemeteries, and people used to take strolls in cemeteries all the time, and they don't do it anymore, and it's really a shame.
Wait, everybody's either got a big yard or there's a city park down the street. But back then there was no city parks, and the only place with a lot of greenery, they go out on Sunday afternoons, leave some fresh flowers on one of their ancestors' graves, and just throw a picnic down right there in the cemetery.
That would be just a fun way to commune with your ancestors. Just to enjoy a sunny day. And you can learn a lot from the cemetery anyway. So
that's how I met Libby Mae Humphrey. It was just a beautiful day of sunshine. I'd set up a chair there in the shade, and there wasn't a whole lot going on. It was how it is. You go on a paranormal investigation, and you're not getting anything.
Oh yeah, it just fails.
I was getting absolutely nothing, and was sitting in my chair, a swing chair, and fell asleep. But I left my K2 meter, of course, on. Meters, I will warn you about something. If you ever go to Bachelor's Grove, meters don't work.
They don't work at Bachelor's?
Full natural K2s, males, they just don't work at Bachelor's. I've seen a K2, 2 lights flashed once, and a male meter, it moved once. and that's all I've ever seen move except my K2, which had a temperature sensor on it. Libby May started playing with the temperature sensor.
Oh.
She thought it was a toy. She could play a musical tune by touching the sensor and then letting it go. And that's how she woke me up like that. She was doing it to get me up. So I tried to talk to her, and then I started the communication with her. And then I started trying to figure out who the female woman that I've actually seen coming in there, who she was. And she started appearing more and more to me because I was investigating the Humphrey house, which is where I got their picture, their wedding picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I was investigating one night there. One of the very few people who've actually investigated the Humphrey house at night. And I was trying to contact Libby May's father, John Humphrey, state senator. He was in the 1880s and 90s. He was the most powerful man in Cook County outside the city of Chicago. But he had short man's disease. He's only about 5'4", 5'5".
Mm.
So he wore, even when they went out of fashion, big stove top hat. And they've actually got it there. His real hat. It's a real beaver skin hat. And it's not a facsimile. It's not somebody else's hat they found. It's his. Well, since I was trying to talk, I wanted to try to contact him. So what do? Use a trigger object.
Mm-hmm. Use something that belongs to
him. I put his hat on.
No.
You can imagine how that went over with John Humphrey.
I don't think it went over very well, but I think you got the results you were after.
Yes. That was an interesting evening because he tried to appear in front of me and was expecting me to run. And of course, I looked at him about half solid in front of me. I said, "Oh, hello, you're John Humphrey, right?" Because I was standing in his bedroom of his house. Oh, the story with him, Libby May's mother, Amelia Patrick, was his first wife. It was an arranged marriage. Both families had a little bit of money, so it was an arranged marriage, not a love marriage. And so, right after he became state senator, he had got a secretary, and immediately started having an affair with her. So in 1880, when Amelia died, 6 months after the funeral, he marries his secretary.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Needless to say, there was a scandal.
A little more than a scandal going on.
Not only did he marry her that quickly and have children with her, when they were buried at Orland Park Cemetery, he was put in the middle of the plot. His first wife on one side of him, his second wife on the other side of him.
Buried with both.
And on each side was a couple of children who had died that didn't move away or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, beside their mother. And so it's not very happy. And that's why Amelia let me see her and contact her and started the conversation going, because she knew what I had done at the Humphrey house. basically pissed her husband the F off.
I would definitely see if I couldn't maybe go in there and do it overnight. That'd be so fun.
They don't lease it out overnight. Dale got in there one time for one night, and I got in there with a couple of friends one night, and we are the only people to ever investigate nighttime in there. In fact, they barely allow you in there with a meter during the daytime. They're open
Why?
up one Sunday every month.
Oh, I mean, yeah. That's strange. What do they keep hours? So strange.
It looks like there's a way to make money. I don't know. Other places have made fortunes, and that that's how they keep the place going. Like Waverly Hills. I mean, they got a lot of drama going on right now. But they charge $1,000 for an investigation.
Yeah, and I almost went on my birthday. They had discount tickets back in June, and I almost picked up one, but all the drama that was going on, I didn't know how to feel about it, but I probably really should go once the dust settles.
Uh-huh. One of the sides that I actually had him as a guest on the show. So we talked about that all night long.
I can only imagine all the drama that's being drug. And I hear they're going to court now too, apparently. That's a whole mess.
Mm-hmm.
A whole
Yes.
mess.
It's not just a whole mess, it's a hot mess.
Yeah, it is. And as a creator, I'm sure you're aware you have to be careful of that stuff and what you choose to film and what you choose to put on your channel and what you choose to promote, because you don't want to be overly involved in stuff like this, because it's not gonna end well for anybody. So you kind of just have to pick and choose your battles with certain locations until just lay low till the dust clear, and then maybe go. I mean, Waverly's not going anywhere.
No. You see this, right? What we were talking about?
Yeah, my great-great-grandfather was. Yep, that's true. I've heard that so many times.
It's the paranormal is an interesting field. I love it. It's fun. I don't fault people making money off of it. Like
me neither. I mean, you have to keep places up. You have to pay you have to keep these places neat and clean and safe. And then there's stuff on your end, like there's your equipment, there's your gas, there's stuff that requires money. So I don't get mad if somebody charges a certain amount for this and that and the other.
You gotta have a tour guide,
right?
You got to pay your power bill.
Like I completely get it. It's not free.
No, the local haunted house down here in South Arkansas, the Allen House. Look that up.
I've heard of that.
You've heard of the triangle love story that involved, right?
The Triangle Strip Fire?
No, it was a triangle love story in the Allen House.
Oh, okay. Wrong.
There were two.
There's so many things happen in the area. It's confusing.
This was a convoluted love story. You had a young man, young woman. They dated, and they thought they were getting married. And World War I happened. And he went over to Europe to fight. He thought that she would wait on him. She got tired of waiting and married another guy.
Oh.
Yes. And they ended up having a son. He was an alcoholic. He liked to go to the bars to shoot pool. That seemed to be his biggest money-making thing. And so they struggled and finally got separated for a while and then got a divorce. Well, she wanted to get back together with the love of her life. But his heart was broken when he got back from World War One in 1919, and there she was married. So soon after that, he got married, and but he started also dating his old girlfriend
Oh.
and took her places. He took her to Chicago, took her to Minneapolis, which is a pretty good trip from down here in Southeast Arkansas. So he took her around, and they dated. She kept begging him to leave his wife, and he said, I will, but I can't do it right now. And then one Christmas, she was expecting him and kept looking for him. Mm-hmm. And all she got was a note from him saying that he could not be there and he could not divorce and was not going to divorce his wife.
Oh, she was probably just so heartbroken.
She committed suicide.
Oh.
And created the haunting. Her son from her first husband also died in his early 23, 24 years old. He went to New York working as a journalist, and he got a disease. I'm not sure what it was. I don't think they knew what it was. We're talking after World War One now. And he died, and it's in that house. Professor Spencer is a teacher at the local college. His wife saw the house, fell in love with it, and bought it. And they charge you quite a bit to go in there. Now, if you watch the Ghost Brothers on TV,
mm-hmm.
that was their first episode, was the Allen House. And I was in there one night on Halloween, and a tour group came through, and one guy was wearing, a younger fellow, 20s, was wearing a baseball cap. And Liddell, the young lady who committed suicide, took her 2 days to die, by the way. She tires out. After about the fourth or fifth tour, she's exhausted. And she disappears. She doesn't interact. She may come back a little bit later that night, but nothing spectacular. Her son, however, he has got a personality. So he and I were talking, and this guy comes walking in, the only one with a baseball cap. I said, "Hey, Alan." By the way, he was named after his father, first and last name. He's a junior. Mm-hmm. But due to the divorce, they don't want to call him Junior or by the, he who shall go without being named father, mm-hmm. his name. So they just called him Alan because that was, his mother's maiden name. And it works very well for calling somebody, "Hey, Alan." It's, it's their last name, but nobody's actually being called Alan. I said, "Hey, Alan, you see the guy with the baseball cap on? Give me his name really loud." He did. Immediately. The guy was gone. The guy with the baseball cap was gone. Because he heard me say, "Alan, give me the guy in the baseball cap." Thanks. He knew who I was talking about. And then he heard his name. And I had never seen him before he walked in the room. There was no way that was faked. Mm-mm. And he like I said, he ran out of the room, out of the house. He was gone. He had enough Halloween.
Okay. That would make me run too.
It was funny.
I've seen some strange stuff, and that would make me run too. I don't frighten easy, but I think something appearing and disappearing like that would make me run for the hills.
Yeah, stating your name just out of the blue. That was hilarious. Alan, I sat there, had a laugh about that. Lorraine says she heard a voice, and I heard something too.
Just now?
A minute or so ago.
Oh, she knows her house is haunted, so it's nothing new to her.
But that's just something I got into at the Allen house. Now they charge. I got in there on public tours and investigated a little bit. But the Spencers, that's how they keep the house maintained. That older house is so large and takes so much money to maintain. Even though he's a professor at the local college, that still is paying the bills and doing restoration is expensive.
There's a house that I'm actually a part of. It's called the Harper House. I've really gotten into volunteering with them, and I actually filmed a video for them. And that's where I'm doing an overnight next month is there. But their restoration over the past couple of years has been so expensive, and it's been nothing but volunteers and donations and tours from the city and from the historical society and from citizens of the city just pouring in because it's just not cheap to do. And these are like it's like the older wood and the older carpentry that you have to repair. And so you have to hire like these specialists who know how to do these things, which aren't cheap.
No. I remember years ago, this is 12 years ago, the old rectory out of Cincinnati. I was one of the first people to investigate that. Now that was on Ghost Adventures, and it was on several other of the ghost shows. I think that was before the Ghost Brothers times, but I think Ghost Adventures were there, and the original Ghost Hunters were also there. And I think somebody else was there. Ghost Adventures would not go inside the place without a priest being there. And I went in there, and I had not had my right knee replaced yet. And I'd been on my feet for a while, and I just said, I got to go up and get off this leg. And they were doing some stuff. The other people I was with were doing some stuff downstairs. I think a seance at the time. So I said, I want to go upstairs and get off this leg. And they said there was a room there that I could go lay down on the bed. I said, okay. Well, it was the room where the rumor, that they couldn't prove it, where a priest was murdered.
Oh.
This was a rectory that had deflocked priests in it. Priests that for one reason or the other could not have a congregation under them.
And they don't have records
there in the rectory. And I laid down in that bed for about 30, 40 minutes. And the whole time there was something walking around the bed. So I kept the lights off. All I could see was a little bit of glow coming in the window, but the curtains and blinders were down. So I couldn't see very much there. The only way I could see anything was through the viewfinder of my video camera. And I kept the video camera running the whole time. And there was something walking back and forth throughout. I don't know if it was a priest. I don't know if it was a demon from inside that house or what. That was not the nicest place to go to. There was dog fighting in the basement for several years because it was an abandoned building. And several priests had died there. And they use that money for restoration. It finally got the house restored using a lot of paranormal money. It then had the Catholic Church come in, completely clean it out and exorcise the house. And to this day, don't allow paranormal investigators in there.
I wonder why.
What they're afraid that you have a paranormal investigator going there is looking for spirits in a place where there's not any.
Mm.
They're afraid they'd bring some with them, or they'd end up calling some to the house, and they don't want any.
Oh, because it's already been cleaned. Okay.
So
Okay.
that was an interesting place. But Zach Bagans would not walk in there without a Catholic priest. Oh, guess what time it is?
Oh, I didn't even realize it was after 1.
It's 12:02. So guess what I got to do? Here we go.
Yes, that's exactly what I use.
That's a little freebie from Maura. I'll put that together. Because if I go past 12, we're theoretical overtime. Or just 12 my time, your time, so we're in overtime. So I'll play that one.
104. I didn't realize it was after 1. It just flew by.
Time flies by when you're having fun. My show flies by every day. I'm nervous. I got butterflies in my belly when I first start, and then all of a sudden I start talking, and the butterflies are gone.
Right. Same with me. I've been at work all day. I know I look tired, and I apologize. But I'm like, I had like such a good time though. I swear I did.
See, I took speech class in college, of course. Remember one course where we were being graded on speeches.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to give at least a 20-minute speech. And most of the students had a hard time speaking for 20 minutes. The teacher told me to sit the hell down after 35 minutes. And I started out, the girl that went in front of me talked about, we could do anything. She talked about how Sherman shortened the Civil War by his little tramping across Georgia.
That was her go-to speech?
Yeah. And remember, if you look at it from the United States point of view, he turned the tide of the war. Lincoln by polls, was going to lose re-election, which would have ended the war right there with the country permanently split. That was a presidential election with just a little bit of drama into it, because if his opponent had gotten in, he was going to completely bring back the Union armies, disband the army, and let the 11 southern states have their own country for a while. But Sherman decided he'd go into Georgia and visit Atlanta, then visited Savannah. And when he entered Georgia, which was the breadbasket of the Confederacy, that pretty well ended the war and also won Lincoln re-election. But she was talking about all the good things that Sherman did. So the first thing that I said, here I am following a native Georgian, following somebody who was talking about all the great things Sherman did. When I was in school, the only thing I was told about Sherman is that he stampeded women and raped cattle. And the whole class lost it.
Oh man, what a great follow-up.
The teacher was head desking. And that's how I started my speech. Then I went into my spill.
That's
But
so
people
funny.
paid attention to every word I said after that.
Mhm.
I
Because
was
you got
also
this
doing a
off the bat.
and the first another college I went to got one of the other degrees. I was in a speech class, well, presentation class, and they teamed a young lady who could not talk to anybody. She couldn't carry on normal conversation. She was shy, introverted. So they teamed her up with me,
Mhm.
and she got up there, and I said, just go up there and do this. And she got up there, read her little part, a little research, and they said, just go ahead and sit down. My turn. So I went up there. I was dressed in a suit, nice tie, and promptly started doing an imitation of the professor. He had a set of motions. He would do his hands in a certain way. He would talk in a certain monotone. He would had a habit of when he was doing his talk, he would take off his suit jacket, hang it on a chair, keep talking, go over to the air conditioner thermostat, which was in a lockbox, get a key and adjust the temperature. Then he'd talk for 3 or 4 minutes, put his suit coat back on, and keep talking. Somebody asked him a question. We had tables where people were sitting at the different tables. He would sit his book on their table and would sit there and look at them directly in the face and would tell them the answer to their question. So I was doing this the whole time. 25 minutes of impersonation of the instructor. Everybody said, he's going to fail, he's going to fail. I could look in the back where the instructor was. He was barely in his chair. He was laughing so hard. I got done. He finally said, Lynn, that's enough. And walked up to the front, just took a deep breath, blew it out, and he said, imitation is the most sincere form of flattery.
Mhm.
And the whole class was, what? And the girl that was teamed up with me shared they shared a grade. So he gave me an A+, I had perfect score, and he shared that grade with her so she could pass the class. And he knew I would tolerate that and wouldn't say anything because I was going to go up there and just blow it away. And he did not know I was going to impersonate him because I did the whole same thing. I took off my coat, hung it on the chair just like he did, and went over and made out like I was adjusting the temperature. He said at one point, I didn't know I did all that.
He didn't realize how animated he was until you showed him.
Exactly. And he just thought it was hilarious. Then when I went to other classes later in the day, people were saying, I heard what you did in class this morning. It was hilarious. The things you learn in speech class. You can see I can sit here and talk all night. I think my record is 4.5 hours, almost maybe 4 hours and 45 minutes for a show one night.
Wow, that's impressive.
That was a long time. She lives off the California coast. She lives off one island off the California coast.
Mhm.
So she didn't mind staying up on it. Dale and I went almost through. We went over 2.5 hours last week, and we were talking about swearing. And I said, "Well, you didn't see my intro? Remember the intro that I played?"
Mhm.
And it said, it comes and said, gives the warning, the adult warning.
The adult content warning.
Mm-hmm. And he said, "Wait a minute! I could have said and dropped an F-bomb, and I've been holding myself back all this show." Dale's about 3 or 4 years older than I am. So here's a couple of old guys sitting there just cutting up and laughing. Dale was doing paranormal investigations of private residences when I was in high school.
That's a long time to be doing it.
Yeah, talking about the very early 70s. And you said you weren't even around in 1980.
I was born in 81. Close enough.
Had your parents even met by 72, 73?
Actually, they did, I think. I don't remember. I know they met in the 70s. Because I believe they were married in the late 70s. And somewhere in I
graduated high school in 74.
Gotcha.
I bought my first new car in 77. Got caught at the overlook at a lake there at Columbus. Of course, we live by a river, the Chattahoochee. And of course, gates connected with it. Of course, you got dams, and that's what turns the lights on.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's an overlook. We, as the kids, we used to go up there and watch the submarine races.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, you're sitting there in a lake at 2:00 in the morning watching submarine races. See some fish or some turtle breaking the top of the lake and making a few ripples. Hey, there's the winner right there. That's a winning sub. In the meantime, your girlfriend's looking for a bra somewhere under the seat. No, you never did any of that.
No.
We got to talk about how wholesome you were when you were a teenage girl with your mother looking in on the show.
I don't think you'll get too many stories like that out of her. I was a free spirit, like I am now. that never changed. Still free spirit.
Yeah, I was a screwball when I was 12. I'm still 66 years old, still a screwball.
Same. We just learn how not to get caught.
Well, I'm at the point where I don't care if I get caught or not. Too old to change.
They met in 78. So I was close.
Yeah, there it is. At 78. When they met, your parents met, I was driving around in my year-old or maybe 6-month-old.
She's literally right below me, like right downstairs watching.
But I had that 77 Mustang that I was driving around back then. Almost got put in jail in that thing. I was coming back from Atlanta, Georgia. Coming back in, and I got wrote up for a ticket, 78 miles an hour in a 55. Fortunately, I'd slowed down. I was doing 120.
Why?
Because it could. I was in a hurry. I was one of these kids that everybody's proud to have. Your mother can vouch for this. Uh, you can imagine what she would think. 16 years old, uh, the IHRA had a drag strip just to cross over in Alabama. The IHRA was the International Hot Rod Association. It ran a drag strip, and I went over there and qualified on the drag strip to where they gave me a license to where I could drive any car on their drag strip as long as it did not exceed 170 miles an hour and a quarter mile, which put me up to pro stock, pro mod. That was their top speed at the time. So I had that little driver's license where I could drive a car at 170 miles an hour on a drag strip at 16. My parents were so proud.
Well, I think in a way I would be too, because that's impressively. That's one of those situations where you don't know whether to be impressed or disappointed.
Yeah. In my senior year in high school, my senior project, I built a 289 Ford, put it in a 1964 Falcon, put $2,500 in the engine alone. This is 1974. This would be a $7,000 engine today. Built it, blueprinted it, put it in the car, practically a NASCAR style engine. It could pick the front wheels off the ground 7 or 8 inches, hitting fourth gear really hard.
Oof.
And I was driving that little booger bear on the streets at 17.
Hell on wheels.
I was out one night with a friend of mine who'd driven drag cars. Guy in the back seat had driven drag cars, and his girlfriend, future wife, they're divorced now. Her brother turned out to be a professional drag racer for several years. We were out one night, and a car came up and wanted to race, and I just put up the back from fourth, hit third gear, floorboard of the car, and the three of them hit the floorboard of the car, screaming because of the acceleration. Because they were being mashed into the seat at grade of about a good G and a half into the seat from the acceleration. Vincent Adams. Those Rivieras would do some trucking. Vincent Adams, is that in relation to you?
That's my husband.
That's your husband.
That's my husband.
Also, so he's tuning in to watching an old guy flirt with his wife. Okay.
Not the first time he's witnessed somebody do that. So I think you're safe.
I'm may or may not be safe. Of course, if Vincent wants to get upset, he can always sick my wife on me. Oh, she was taught how to race cars in the 50s.
Now, I can say she does have a lead foot.
Oh, and your husband was driving a dirt track at 14. I did not hit the dirt. I hit the drag strip early on. I did not hit the dirt track till I was in 77, 78. So I was about 22 when I finally hit the dirt tracks. The the sound of that 4-barrel opening up, especially the big 4 barrels, and you hear that big old carburetor sucking all that air in. That just makes a unique sound. It was just cool as hell to me. So, what have you got planned in the immediate future? Any places you're planning on going?
Hopefully I can hit a couple of places this weekend. A lot of local stuff I still need to focus on. Western North Carolina has a lot of cool local spots I really need to hone in on. And I have a lot of requests that I need to start working on because my work schedule gets ahead of me and they're asking me to do stuff like repeatedly because my work schedule can be a little bit grueling. I just can't get to it sometimes. So hopefully I can focus on some local spots this weekend. And then next month, we're doing an overnight investigation at one of the places we were talking about locally. And then in October, we're doing a public ghost hunt at the same place that we're having the overnight. So I'm just having everything just kind of, it's just a matter of getting everybody on the same page. It's like herding cats. Getting like teams together is like herding animals.
And if you've ever tried to get 2 cats to do the same thing at the same time, that's a hard thing to do.
Well, I have people who are interested. It's just getting the correct days off for everybody, which is very hard to do because everybody has different schedules and different lives. Like we all have different separate lives outside of this. But I think I got it nailed down to where everybody that I want to be there will be there, hopefully.
Wow. I know the feeling. Next week, I've got a meeting on StreamYard, so I'll be right here. Monday, there's going to be 12 of us on a show together. All of us scattered around the country talking the paranormal together next Monday. And talking about appearing on a show. This is just talk and planning.
People. That would be cool. It's like a huge round table.
Yeah, and it's some of the top paranormal investigators in the country, and they invite that. I was the last one to be invited. And
that's pretty awesome. Congratulations.
It was. Yeah, thanks. I told them it was an honor to be invited. And then Tuesday, next day, or Wednesday, maybe it's Wednesday, I got to check my calendar. The network, WLFE DB, the network I'm on, we're having a company meeting here on StreamYard to have all the shows that are on this network, because we lost apparently before I came on board, Roku, which is a network.
Mm-hmm.
We have, you may have saw from the intro, most of the podcast networks. This show's automatically archived.
Yeah,
just about all the podcast networks. We're going to discuss, and this is probably going to cost everybody a little bit of money, but we're going to discuss it because we got a proposal from Apple TV.
That would be interesting to do.
Yes, and that's so. I'm talking about one group having a bunch of top people doing a show, and then the next day or so, with the network that I'm on, we're going to get everybody together and talk about just what it would cost us to get on Apple TV, and getting on Apple TV would be awesome. That's a whole new audience.
That's a whole new ballpark too, because I imagine it's not cheap. Any of their production value is not going to be cheap. any of their
Right.
promos is not going to be cheap.
That's what I've been trying to up my game a little bit and have a little fun with the video graphics and talking to other people who've done videos, because I'm maybe adding a few other bells and whistles to the show, because Roku is one thing. They're kind of no insult to them. They're a good network, but they are a little bit in decline. Their stock's about half what it was. By the way, I keep track of stocks. But the Apple TV is just that's a game changer.
That's a huge. That's a whole nother ballpark and a whole nother stadium completely.
Yes,
That's
and if I can start, if the show that I do now is obviously not just on YouTube and Facebook like it is now, or get put on all the other podcasts, including a speaker, which goes on audio, and we're on several of the audio. Not our faces, but the audio goes out. But to be put on Apple TV,
that would be amazing.
yes. So that's what we're going to be discussing next week. And then I've got a show, another guest next Thursday.
I know the feeling. I have a calendar, an agenda, and it fills up fast. And I look at it and I'm like, this is just exhausting just looking at this. But it's so fun, and I want to do it anyway.
I love it. On my calendar, I've been booked in August thoroughly for since the end of June, and I am booked solid all the way through September. Oops. She froze. Oh, you froze for a minute.
Oh, okay.
But,
well, I'm glad I froze.
Yeah, you froze completely for about 30 seconds.
Oh, that's strange. Maybe it's giving me a hint.
Yeah.
Because I haven't slept in the past. Because all I do at work literally is I close my store, then I get up to open, and then the day that I open, I'm there for like 10 hours. So
wow.
I'm running on like no sleep. Maybe it's giving me a hint. Maybe you should just go and get some sleep.
Let's see. We got another comment in the chat room. Let's see what somebody said. Oh, somebody said, Lorraine said, your mother said, wow. Anyway, I wish you luck in getting all your stuff together. By the way, I'm kind of envious about you having a team at all, because I can't find anybody.
Yeah, I'm good. Hey, that's my mom. She's like, did you get unfroze? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Yeah,
I can't get anything together.
I've met a lot of interesting people. I don't know if you know who Keith Campbell is, but he has movies on Amazon Prime, and he's on my team. And then I met Kevin, the custodian ghost hunter, who's been on camera, and he's on my team. I've worked with him before, and I have a lot of cool, interesting people who I'm really interested, and I'm just really happy to have along, who know what they're doing. So it's going to be a good time.
Yes, it will. Like I said, I'm envious because I'm just a party of one.
See, I like going solo a lot because there's pros and cons to being by yourself, because you're not worried about anybody else's time. You're not worried about anybody else's schedule. You're not worried about anybody else's safety, because if you're leading a team, you have to worry about their schedule, their safety, everything.
True.
If you're by yourself, then it's just you. It's just you. And I go alone a lot. It's just me. I can take my time and do what I want. and not really be on anybody's schedule but mine.
Exactly.
But every once in a while, you do need to bring your friends along. Every once in a while, you do need some second eyes. And the places that I
Yes.
want to explore and do overnights require extra people because of the intensity and because of how big they are.
Exactly. That's my problem. Oh, and by the way, since your husband is there, let's throw the picture of me and my wife again. And let's see, I thought I had it somewhere. Oh, right here. Oops, it doesn't. Oh, this is a background. So that was a hospital from down here in Arkansas that I did by myself. I went.
Interesting.
Yeah, I did. It was now it's a 1 floor hospital. But it was a lot of area to cover for one person. And I was
Yeah.
in there. I was in there alone for almost 5 hours investigating. So sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Right.
The wife comes with me sometimes, especially if I'm traveling. We go somewhere. She kind of uses, away. I'm away from the house. I'm in a hotel or something like that. I just go out investigating. Interesting story. I told you I was in the Andrew Jackson Hotel down in New Orleans. Well, I'm out investigating the rest of the hotel. There was a spirit in our room, and he made himself known. And she was in there watching Game of Thrones. See, she was streaming it on her phone or pad, and the spirit started watching it with her.
That's not the very first time I heard something about going down at the Andrew Jackson Hotel like that. That especially in New Orleans.
That was interesting. Had one guy who used to work one of the TV shows as a, just a stagehand basically. So he thought he'd try a real, get away from the guys and go on a real ghost hunt. And they said, it pointed to me and said, okay, he's a good one to hang around. And so great, here I am. I put him in a room by himself. He recorded a growl. Now, he was in there by himself. I did not see him in there. He could have growled for the recorder and not known about it. There's no way you can prove or not prove that because he was out of sight of everybody. But he had a distinctive growl recorded on a recorder.
That's crazy.
Now, whether he did it himself. He said he swears he did not growl himself. That he heard that in the room, and he did get a recording of it.
I picked up on one of the cemeteries in New Orleans. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but I was going live, just doing a live from Facebook, and I picked up the very beginning of the live. You can hear somebody speaking. It's like French Cajun almost. You can hear it just before.
Wow.
And the timestamp is really weird. It's like 000 is a male voice French Cajun before I start speaking, and nobody was with me. I was the only one at the cemetery because before I begin filming, I look at all my surroundings to see what's there, who's there, and if anybody's around me, like for my own safety. Nobody was there. It was actually pretty cool. I'm really happy I caught that.
Oh, your husband made a few posts?
It was at the Masonic Temple Cemetery. That's where
Masonic.
the Masonics. That one gave me the weirdest vibes.
Your husband's ready to grab a sleeping bag. But
the kids better be asleep.
Yeah, I get the idea. You and I'd be up all night ghost hunting, and our supportive spouses would probably be doing something else, either sleeping or watching Game of Thrones or something.
Just making sure the mini humans don't die.
the mini me's.
Just making sure the mini humans don't die. Just keep them alive till I get home.
Oh, one other thing I wanted to discuss with you. I do a little on the Pair Awakening. You can look that up on either Facebook or YouTube. Pair Awakening. It's a group led by Rob Hernandez. He does live ghost box sessions.
Okay.
And one night he used to have a show. He does it at 8 or 9 o'clock now on Saturdays. He used to do it at 2 o'clock in the morning. Actually, technically that's Sunday morning, but doing it Saturday night. He's on the West Coast. It was Saturday night. Anyway, he was doing a show, and he had a few people that were asking about relatives, and other people they wanted to contact, friends they wanted to contact. I don't know who the force of nature is.
The 9-year-old.
They're still awake. Your 9-year-old's still awake.
We're following her in the car.
But anyway, I wasn't paying much attention to the show because I didn't want to draw away from them.
Mm-hmm.
I was hearing some things come over the ghost box, but these people were seriously trying to contact a relative, and I said, I had no special interest here. Let them have their time. And I just backed off, took a back seat. It wouldn't say anything. Then I started getting bored, so I thought I'd look. You remember I told you the wife wanted to go back down to New Orleans and stay in the Lafitte Hotel. So I had never looked at the Lafitte Hotel. So I thought I'd just hit the computer and look at it. Well, I was looking at the Lafitte Hotel, some of the pictures they'd taken, and all of a sudden on his ghost box, I'm in another tab. And all of a sudden, I hear Lafitte, Lafitte, Lafitte. Over his ghost box. He's out in California. I'm in Arkansas. Looking on in another tab at a hotel in New Orleans.
That's strange.
I ain't finished yet. Then I heard stairs. And then I heard 2 female names. So I came back. I went to the other tab where Rob's show was and said, who in the hell is saying Lafitte? Well, a couple of people said they thought it had said your husband's still talking.
I'm not the one that falls asleep by 8 p.m.
Anyway, I said, who's saying Lafitte? A couple of people thought they were saying Lafayette. But they realized when I said, who's saying Lafitte? And a voice came in and said, I am. And then I started looking up, read more about it, and I was looking at a picture of a stair that had the staircase going up to the rooms at the hotel. And also, it came over his ghost box, hurt. one of the owner's daughters had an accident on the stairs. Didn't kill her, just injured her. A
Mm.
year or two later, she did get sick, and she died in the hotel. Her mother was so distraught, she went in the room where her daughter had died, locked the door behind her, and 2 days later they broke in the room and she was dead in the room.
Mm.
The ghost box, I saw who it was, the name of the mother and the daughter. A voice on the ghost box had named the mother and the daughter before I even read about the mother and the daughter.
That's pretty freaky.
A spirit that was talking over his ghost box in California was watching me and was reading about the Lafitte Hotel and the fact that the stairs hurt, and named the girl and the mother's name. And I hadn't even gotten to that part yet, as far as reading goes. Rob was so shocked, he had 15 to 20 minutes of dead air time because he did not know what to say.
That's pretty intense.
That was very intense. A psychic I know saw this and said, "What's going on?" So I explained to her. So she came into the YouTube chat room where I was, and was seeing the conversation about everybody's absolute stunning thing was going on. That I'd come in there, what the hell? Because I wasn't even in that tab. I wasn't paying any attention to what's going on in that with the Ghostbox session until I heard Lafitte. She came in there and commented on it. Because nobody else was commenting. Everybody was a little bit nervous. Well, I looked across the room. My wife had long gone to bed. She long asleep because this was 3:30 in the morning. I looked over in front of her computer, and there was 5 people in older dress, early to mid 20th century dress, standing in front of her computer looking at the screen. Her computer was turned off. Somebody, that group of 5, had come into the room where I was through the internet, went back into the bedroom where my wife was, woke her up. She came in there ill. She said, "What the hell is going on?" There was ghosts in the bedroom waking me up.
I think I'd be a little irritated too.
They followed her in the room. They were staring at her computer, trying to figure out a way to jump back through the internet. And I had to walk over to the door to get away from my computer and said, "Okay, you got to go to my computer to do this." So they all went to my computer and disappeared into the computer. The psychic that had seen this going on and came in the room said she had 6 or 7 spirits appear in her room, and she had to run them off the same way back through her computer into the internet.
Mm.
So if ghosts are an entity, they are an electrical being. They're non-corporeal. They don't have a solid body like we do. They're an electrical being. And apparently they can travel through the internet, like we're walking through the air.
Oh yeah.
So you gotta watch what you're doing on the internet, especially with these live ghost box sessions and these people who don't know what they're doing. Rob's been doing this for years and years. He's an experienced man with this. But somebody who doesn't know what they're doing can get themselves in trouble in a hurry.
A lot of unwanted trouble. Very, very quickly.
Yeah. Your husband seems to be an interesting man.
No, my K2 is in the car.
Oh, so's mine. Well, not the car. I think it's over here in a box somewhere.
I keep my case in the car. It's got my K2, my SB7, and my spare box, my speaker box, and everything, and my rods. I've got dowsing rods. It's
Dowsing
been,
rods are interesting to use.
my mom actually bought me those for a birthday gift last year, and I love them. Love them to death.
The first time I went to Baxter's Grove, I went in there with some dowsing rods, and what they were doing was I was walking up to occupied graves. About half the people that were ever buried in Baxter's Grove, which is over 400, have been disinterred when they closed the cemetery down. And that place has an interesting thing. I told you about the desecration that went on there.
Mm-hmm.
The cemetery itself wants to be owned. And the more you go in there, the more you want to own it. There's been person after person who have sworn that if they won any amount of money in the lottery, they'd buy the cemetery. Buying a closed cemetery where you'd have to go through all kinds of hassles to bury somebody there. One, you got to locate all the graves that are still there, and you never make your money back out of it. But if they put it up for sale, you'd have a line of people wanting to buy the thing, because the spirits that are there and the cemetery itself wants to be owned. And I think that's why they're at rest now, and the place is not as haunted as it used to be, because the Forest Preserve, which does not own the cemetery, Cook County owns the cemetery, but they own all the surrounding area, including the path. You cannot get to the cemetery without crossing on Forest Preserve land, which is why you can't go in there at night, because that's against Forest Preserve rules.
Yeah.
But you are looking at the only person I know of who spent the whole night there. I've talked to other people who said, I spent the night there. What time did you get there? Oh, we got there about 1 o'clock in the morning. We left about 3.
That's not spending the whole night.
That's not.
That's not spending.
My wife dropped me off at the road, and I had to walk down the path at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. She picked me back up at 8. That's all night. Can you imagine one of the more haunted, at the time, one of the more haunted cemeteries in America? Now, it's only a 1 acre cemetery.
It's not very big.
No, at all. And only about 200 people are still buried there. Can you imagine staying in that 1 acre cemetery from 5 o'clock in the, well, I got there about 4:30 till 8 o'clock or 7:30 the next morning? By yourself?
I don't
Coyotes howling in the distance. In fact, I got about 7 o'clock in the morning, from the path from the woods, here come 2 coyotes. And it heard them howling all night long. So a group of 4 or 5 came in there, and they did not see me, and I didn't know who they were, so I was hiding. And they finally said, "Look, just come out. We're the good guys. We're not going to start anything." And I was hiding behind a tree in the dark. This was a moonless night. Moon had been down, and you could barely see your hand in front of your face. I shined the light, turned it on all of a sudden, blinded all four or 5 of the guys by hitting them in the face with the light and turning the light right back off. Then I picked the leader out, who was standing a few feet away from the others, and jumped out real quick, right in front of him, got nose to nose with him. I said, "Who the hell are you? And what the hell are you doing in this cemetery?" Which you can imagine just scared to hell. He almost needed brown pants. And he said, "How the hell did you sneak up on me like that? I'm an active duty Marine." Mainly because I was dressed in all black or green clothing, and my face was covered in brown and green face paint, and the back of my hands were too. So I was in the darkness. I was totally invisible. You had to shine a flashlight directly on me to see me. So I gave them a tour of the whole cemetery, and they left. Then I was alone the rest of the night. Vincent said he'd be in 7 heaven. I'm not sure who, Sparky Spark.
I don't know who that is either.
And Sparky Spark said camouflage. Yes, I was very much camouflaged. Another thing I did too, I had a set of 4 walkie-talkies. So what I did, I set 3 of the different channels and taped them to trees in different positions outside the cemetery, where I could put the one that I had on the channel, knowing where that was, and could talk through it, and it sounded like somebody was standing well away from where I was. I could just change one channel, and I could talk to the other walkie-talkie, which was 20, 30 yards away. Messed up anybody who came back there. Also had some of the trails tied off with string. Had one guy come back there that I knew, and he walked into the string, and I heard him scream. And he'd walked in one of my little traps. So I could, I had some place to point my back. Nobody could come up from behind me without me knowing about it, because I had the trails tied off. And that's how I spent the whole night in Bachelor's Grove.
That place is on my bucket list. I don't know when I'm going to make it up to Illinois anytime soon, but it's on my bucket list. I'll get there eventually.
The spirits gave me the nighttime spirits, which are totally different from the daytime ones. They test you.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave me projectile diarrhea.
Oh, no.
Which meant that when I went, it went straight out of me at least 6 feet behind me before it hit the ground.
Oh, no.
And
misdirection.
And that's all they did to me. After I got over that, they said, okay, he's not leaving, and they didn't bother me the rest of the night. But I did that just a few months before I left Chicago, because that was on my bucket list to spend the night in there. It's a crazy different place. And one other little adventure I got in there. I was listening to my Echo Vox, and I was back at one of the house foundations, which is past the cemetery. You got to cross a creek, and you got to walk by 150 yards through the woods, and you start passing house foundation. I was past the furthest one back, and it's even got a old foundation of a silo that used to be there from the corn they grew. And had the Echo Vox on for hours. Nothing, absolutely nothing, totally nada. Not even something I could have entertained somebody and halfway lied to. Oh, there's something. What is that? I didn't even have anything like that. Nothing. But I was back there with a guy I knew, and this girl that did ghost writing.
Mm.
and opposite of a power washer. Yes, that was about the size of it.
She's not wrong.
And uh, she was a mixed race, and she liked to wear this long blonde wig all the time.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, I hear some static noises, sounded like you're changing a radio station,
Mhm.
and you kind of run into the station. You can't understand a word they're saying, but you hear the grind. And a voice came over there, a male voice. She's wearing a blonde hat.
Oh, a blonde hat.
A female voice comes in, and he's laughing. The male voice is laughing. She says, she's what? And he said, she's wearing a blonde hat. And then both of them started laughing. I heard the staticky noise, and it was gone. Never heard another word.
That's pretty
Stood there
cool.
for about another hour and never heard another word. And I told the girl later, because wasn't sure what I really heard, because it kind of surprised me because I've been hearing so much nothing
Mhm.
until I got home and listened to it. And she said, they're making fun of my wig. I said, yeah. Come to find out that back when those houses were occupied, back in the very early 1800s, the word wig didn't exist. Hadn't been invented yet.
So they just said,
Are you tying somebody up there?
"Oh no, I'm just packing my cord away."
Oh, but they called wigs back then hats because they didn't have the wig. It didn't come out for another 30, 40 years after that. So that's what they would have said. She's wearing a hat, and that got all of us wondering. Who said that it was? Who knows who or what we talk to when we talk to ghosts like this over at Ghostbusters. We can't say. We don't know who we're talking to. We don't know what we're talking to.
You don't know immediately who it is.
No. And even if they say who it is, you still aren't sure if they're telling you the truth. It could be an alien Bigfoot just pretending to be a ghost. Don't know. And you are looking sleepy.
I am very. It's 2 a.m. my time.
Yes. So you need to go to bed. I really appreciate you coming on the show tonight. It's been a lot of fun.
I antagonized him. Yeah, he will. He's done that in the past. Oh yeah. We caught. Oh my gosh! Before I go, I have to tell you this. We caught. There's an old German cemetery full of like German settlers to the area because nothing but German settlers here, and we were doing an EVP session several years ago, and it was nothing but German voices coming through the SB7 box. Nothing but German. And there's literally no logical explanation for that. I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere. There's no houses around us. There's like a silo, but that's it. And there's no explanation for how you would hear German. I mean, even if you were to blame it on like radio waves and radio frequency, where's all the German coming from?
Right.
Like it's you can't pass that up as being explained.
True. you got to wonder.
I actually have that
Uh,
on TikTok, I believe. I'll find it and I'll send it to you. It's pretty interesting.
I got to figure out TikTok one of these days.
I'm not as active on it as I should be, but eventually I'll get back to doing to making content for TikTok.
Oh yeah, that girl with that wore the wig, she was a ghostwriter. If you know what that is,
I do.
she would sit there and uh, not using a ghost box or anything. She would just sit there and kind of concentrate and in a different person's handwriting, write out
There you go.
answers to questions she'd ask. She contacted a Civil War veteran. Now he did not die in the Civil War. He's buried in Bachelor's Grove, toward the back, kind of toward the pond, kind of well away from where the gate, well, just a hole in the fence, goes to the pond.
Mm-hmm.
I think he died in the late 1880s or early 1890s. He lived to be pretty old. But she was talking to him and learned his name, and because she had his name before, and she asked somebody where this person was buried, and they showed her where the grave was, matching the name up to what she had. And she saw me talking over Echo Box, which is just a ghost box. And she asked me, can I try to speak to him? I said, sure. So she started asking a couple of questions, and there his voice was speaking right to her. Mm-hmm. She said she was just shocked. I've never heard your voice before. It's so nice to speak to you. So they talked a little bit. And that's why she was following me around back to the foundation. Mm-hmm. Because, I'd gotten somebody she'd never spoken to except, writing, and got her to speak to him. She said, can I do this next time you're here? I said, sure. I think she was kind of hoping that I wasn't married, because I'm bad about not wearing my wedding ring out. I forget about it sometimes. It gets embarrassing when some of the women want to sit there and talk with me and say, hey, can't do this.
But you're like, no, I can't. I'm sorry.
So you wish, but I can't. So sometimes I got a ring that was actually my late father-in-law's second marriage ring. He wasn't using it anymore. He was married three times, divorced 3 times.
So he didn't need it.
No, he didn't need it. But let me let you go to bed, and you have a good night. And maybe I'll have you on the show another time. Or
I would like that. I had a lot of fun tonight. Believe it or not, I know it doesn't look like I did, but I really did.
Yeah. I've got to make arrangements with the network WLFE Ted over there, my boss, and I want to do a Halloween broadcast. I believe it's on Tuesday this year.
Oh, cute. Okay.
Oh, your husband says, what's the wedding ring? Where'd it go? Oh, right there. No, your mother had a good time.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad she did.
If I make somebody's evening, I'm happy. I always like making people laugh. I actually did stand up a couple of times. You want to get brave real quick? Stand in front of a couple hundred people who want to be entertained, want to laugh, and are waiting for you to say something funny.
Oh, not the pressure.
That's pressure, because you got this pre-thing. Unless you get up there, you're so good you can read the room and make up jokes as it goes.
That'd be a lot.
Yeah, it's intense. I only did it a couple of times. I said, "Oh boy, this is not fun. There's got to be more fun ways to make a living." But at least I did it a couple of times. I did some ad lib. A girl I knew that was going to be there, and I told her I was going to be there at the club because she said she went to the club and was going to go to the comedy show. She came in there, sat on the front row, and I was not married at this time. This is the 10-year period between wives that I had. And she came up. She was, let's say, buxom.
Mm-hmm.
And she had her nightclub shirt on. And you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. We all have one.
Yeah, no, wait a minute. You're a happily married woman. You don't go showing off the boobs, the boys, to people in nightclubs, do you?
I don't go to clubs. No, I do not go to clubs. No.
Well, that's what she was doing. The boys were out shining, and she was leaning on her arms, and that's all I could see. So, I started commenting on her boobs on stage.
Oh no.
Which made her laugh, which you know what happened to the boobs when she started laughing. They started bouncing.
Oh.
And everybody around her saw what was going on. She knew what was going on. And anybody who could see her, we were all just rolling, laughing at this woman's boobs.
That's too funny.
What'd your husband say? I worked on the carnival, same thing. Yeah, that's a good way to get to know people. People want to be entertained if you're working on the carnival. And what did he say again? 10-year period. I know what that is. Oh, that's what married women tell their husbands after 5 years of marriage. They're on a 10-year period. Oh, by the way, Vincent, you probably know what I'm talking about here. I was always told that when you get married, you take this on your honeymoon. You get a great big water, those great big, huge, multi-gallon things of water for the water tank. You have it filled with pennies. And what you do, you move a penny from the full one to an empty one on the other side of your bed. And every time you have sex, you grab one penny from the full one and put it in the empty one. He said in the first year of marriage, you'll fill the empty jug up with pennies. And you will spend the rest of your married life after the 1 year moving pennies from the full one back to the other empty one. In other words, you'll have more sex in your first year of marriage than you will the rest of your married life. And so your mother's laughing at that one. You're not.
Oh, I'm laughing.
What does Vincent say? 3 years with her first wife.
7 years trying to get the hell out. Oh, he's not kidding with that one.
Lorraine's heard the joke about the thing full of pennies before. Full of pennies or full of beans? I always like to use pennies rather than beans because beans give me gas, and it's you're not going to change any beans from one side to the other if every time you touch a bean you get gas.
No, I prefer the pennies over. Yeah.
Because you're not gonna get anywhere with gas and beans either. All right, we'll let you get out of here. Uh, tell your whole family good night. This has been fun.
This has been
And
real
just
fun.
yeah, and just remember, this is being archived on the WLFE DB Radio YouTube channel, my YouTube channel. It's getting put on a couple dozen podcast channels, both orally and also video. So nobody's watching.
No, clearly nobody's watching.
We'll see you later. Maybe I'll have you back on the show.
I would
Sometimes
enjoy
later
that.
in the year, first part of next year. This has been enjoyable. You take care of yourself. You just keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
With your YouTube channel. I wish you all the luck with it. You said it was monetized, I believe you said.
Yes.
I hope that continues for you.
Thank
and
you.
That continues to go up because that's an eventual goal of mine, is to have at least monetized. I just want to break even. I'm not working toward making a fortune here.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not looking to get rich, but it does help. It does help. It does help here and there. But it's definitely a struggle.
Uh-oh, what did it say here?
That's why there's pennies all over the house.
Oh my goodness. Let me let y'all go. Y'all need to have maybe a discussion or do something.
Obviously.
Because I think you remember the Bangles song, Manic Monday?
Yes.
And why she was having such a hard time getting to work the next day because her boyfriend would say, "Hey, honey, let's make some noise."
Yes.
Vincent, it's been fun chatting with you. Maybe next time you come on the show, get both of you on at once.
Goodness.
I don't know if you'd want to appear on a show with your husband sitting beside you or not.
I wouldn't mind it. He just has a habit of taking over sometimes.
That's guys. But what state's he from?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. I've known a few Pennsylvanians. They were just normal people. I think he's looking for pennies.
Tell him to keep looking.
Keep looking for pennies in a barrel to put them in. My wife's asleep. I know there's no pennies, there's no barrel, no beans, no nothing for me tonight. All right, like I say, you take care of yourself. Let me get on out of here, and I'll put you back in the green rooms, and you can go ahead and switch off and go talk to Vincent and your mother. See what they got going on the rest of the night.
I'm gonna have to.
Good night, everybody. Appreciate y'all looking in.
Good night.
I talk more than you do. Georgia people are known to talk. If you ever watch MSNBC at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock your time, Joe Scarborough, the former Republican, he was a congressman in the early 90s. He represented North Florida. He was actually born and raised first couple of years in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Jimmy Carter came from Georgia. We're known for motor mouths. We'll sit there and talk all night long. Maybe we can have both of you back on for Halloween. Like I wanted that Halloween show. I may doing about. I may sit there and do about 12, 14 hours. Just various people coming in. You know, we just talk about whatever. Maybe have a little costume on.
We could definitely maybe work out something.
So maybe I can get my rock video out. I didn't tell you while I was in Chicago. I started in a rock video. Well, I wasn't the only one, but I was in a rock video.
That's
yeah, it was fun. Yes, I was a zombie.
A zombie.
Yes, in a hard rock video. Your mother says they're all talkers.
Mm-hmm.
He's a noob. All right. Good night.
Good night. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. We'll look forward to it.
Bye.
All right. This has been a lot of fun, especially the last hour or so. We will have her back on the show. Jessyca Hardison Adams, we will have her back on the show, and we are kind of planning on a lot of stuff on Halloween show. I'm probably going to talk to Boss Ted into it and do a long show and be in and out. So that should be fun. Of course, I'll be also doing a regular show that Thursday too. Be a busy week, but who cares? It'd be fun. Anyway, good night to everybody. We'll have a guest next week. I forgot to bring my calendar in here, see who my guest is next week. Oops, that's a goof. Oh, well. I will have a guest next week. In fact, I'm booked all the way through. This is August. I'm booked all the way through September. I don't have any openings till October. I'm leaving one date open in October for a friend of mine who's supposed to be going to Gettysburg in September. So we want to get together in October to talk about what he sees and hears in Gettysburg. All right. Bones, take us on home and get us out of here. And just remember, everyone, the paranormal never sleeps. And I think tonight kind of proved why.
Thanks for watching our show. Be sure to tune in to next week as once again we journey way down south into Bayou Country for another heaping portion of Southern Fried Paranormal with Len Dorman and Bones. Make sure to like, share, and follow. Y'all come back now. You hear?
Good night.